And now, Good Mike Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Saturday night's all right for podcasting. Saturday night's all right. I know. Don't quit my day job. I hear you loud and clear. What's up, guys? When is the last time we did a late night Saturday night wingy? My God, we are here prime time, at least for me. It's 7 o'clock, a little bit after here on the West Coast, 10 p.m. over on the East Coast. AEW Collision just wrapped up, and we are here for a pretty massive Saturday night podcast. So thank you to everyone who's going to hang out tonight, because I'm often not up here on Saturdays, but I had the whole day off today, and I wanted to do at least a couple of videos. And normally we do our big Winged Eagle podcasts in the afternoons ahead of Collision, but I figured I might as well wait until Collision was over and come up here and review everything together. So that's what we are here to do now. I'm just going to do a quick sound check. We're looking good. All right, right on, guys. And we got a lot to get into. We're going to talk about Matt Riddle's release that came yesterday. We're going to talk about last night's SmackDown with LA Knight contracting COVID and being sent home. We're going to talk about the latest on all of the WWE releases that we did touch on Thursday when we did kind of an impromptu podcast. We're going to talk about a lot of other wrestling news as well, along with the futures of some of these releases. Mansoor and Mace did a Twitch stream and revealed a lot of fun information. We're going to talk a little bit about Kyrie Sane. We're going to talk a little bit about Sheamus. We're going to talk about Jade Cargill. Like I said, we're going to talk about last night's SmackDown, tonight's Collision, last night's Rampage as well, and a look ahead to Fastlane and Wrestle Dream. That's pretty much what's on tap on the menu tonight. So I am looking forward to this because we're not often up here on Saturday nights, and I just think it's really cool to be up here on a very rare Saturday night stream. So welcome, everyone, to the Winged Eagle Podcast. I want to thank you for being here. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button early for me. Let's try to get these likes up as high as we can, as early as we can. Also, if you are not a subscriber, it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe, because we are knocking on the door of 40,000, count them, subscribers here on the channel. We're 500 or 600 away from that. So if you could subscribe, if you are not yet already, I would very much appreciate it. If you would like to become a member, we've got some information in the description below on that. And thank you to all of the channel members who were here with us today, resuming our Saturday night's main event watch-alongs. We did episode number 5 from March 1st, 1986. This was the show that set up WrestleMania 2, Hogan and Bundy, Dream Team, and Bulldogs. It was a lot of fun to watch that one today, so thanks to everyone who was here with us for that. We will resume episode 6 on our next available day. Might be a weekday type of thing this week. I just have to look at my schedule. So just stay subscribed, stay tuned, keep a lookout on the channel for these streams popping up, and I will always have them up a couple of days ahead of time so you know about them. But thanks again to all of the members who joined us today. I also want to issue guys a big apology. On Thursday, we did a podcast because WWE announced a whole bunch of names WWE did not announce them, but a whole bunch of talent got released, and they were the ones that announced their departures on social media. So-and-so would tweet, "I'm no longer with WWE," and that was pretty much our confirmation on all of that stuff. So I decided that I would come up and do a podcast about that, but it was a really, really crazy day for me, and I didn't have all my thoughts together, and I didn't really like the way the podcast went in terms of what I was talking about. I forgot a couple of things, and one of the things I forgot was to talk about Shelton Benjamin. Of all of the talent that we discussed, the release talent that we discussed and their futures, we never talked about Shelton, so I apologize for that. One of the funniest things that happened on that show was at the very end of it, I'm like, hey, why don't you guys recommend some watch-alongs? Because we have to pick which watch-along to do this coming Sunday. Let me know your recommendations so I can pick one. Completely forgetting that 3 days earlier, I already decided what the watch-along would be, and I already posted the link to it. So tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, at regular Sunday watch-along time, we're going to watch WWE Breakdown 1998. That's the pay-per-view with the infamous shot of Vince flipping off Austin after he steals his smoking skull belt, and that would take us into Judgment Day and Survivor Series. So that's the pay-per-view we are going to watch tomorrow. I apologize for completely forgetting that. On top of that, right before we went live, I was messing around with Tito, my cat, and even though I've had cats for a long time, I am still kind of allergic to them. And right before we went live, I got hit with a big sneeze attack. So I'm trying to talk, and I've got this mucus in my head and everything. It was just a fucking mess. That's what happens when you go live sometimes. So I apologize for not being as prepared as I should have been on Thursday. Some of you might not have even noticed, but I noticed and it drove me nuts. So I told myself, I'm coming up on Saturday. We're going to redo all of this and we're going to talk about it properly. So we are going to break down these WWE releases, talk about the latest in some of these situations, what we've heard about the releases, how they came to be, and what their futures might be, looking ahead to other work, Impact, AEW, who might go to AEW, who might not, and who might hit the independent scene. We just don't know yet what everybody is going to do, and we're going to have to wait until these 90-day no-competes are up before we see anybody pop up anyway, which should be right around Christmas time. I guess if AEW is going to plan a big show around the holidays, I think Winter is Coming will probably be before the Christmas holiday, probably. But if it's not, and they book Winter is Coming after Christmas or after the 22nd of December, some of that talent could appear if they choose to sign any of them. So we will see. Either way, it's going to be a fun podcast tonight. Cheers to you. Do you guys mind if I have a beer? Man, I don't usually drink on podcasts, but hell, I'm off tonight, so I might as well have a nice frosty cold beverage. Cheers, local 805 lager. I'm going to be sipping on this as we talk about our wrestling news tonight. Anyway, I want to welcome everybody that is here in the chat, hanging out. Let me do a few shout outs first. Knock out super chats and also hit up the channel members and thank them. Unpin, let me just get that message out of here so that's not in my way. Good to see JJ Leg, Jay Lambo, the Juliet. We've got William. We have Zach. We got Deshaun. We have hitting all the members first. Jay Lambo, did I get you? I'm not sure. We got Tatanani. We got Max Pokebra. All our friends are here. We also have Stephen Harris, Lorenzo Vargas, Rodrigo, Lintre, Big J. The Juliet is in the house, member for 10 months. I saw that Hulk Hogan just married his third blonde named Sky Daily. So apparently Hulk Hogan has married a newspaper, and she's a pretty hot-looking newspaper. Did you guys see the pictures? Way to go, Hulkster. Who else? Wapatapa, appreciate the $2 from you. Is Riddle for the RVD? Is Riddle for the RVD? I think he's for the RVD. I don't know if he voted for RVD. I don't even know what that means. But yeah, I think Riddle probably is for the RVD. Yeah. Ahmed, good to see you as well. Denny Downbad. Joaquin is here. Ben Espinoza, Shell Shock. We have Vash, Starwind, and Jet the Hawk. Some of the early people hanging out in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Thumbs up button, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll be back to the chat here later as we get going on our discussions, and I have a lot of notes. So we're going to hit up AEW Collision. We're going to talk about that show. We'll probably do that later. We're going to start with wrestling news, and then we're going to talk a little bit about last night's SmackDown and all of that jazz, and then we will hit up AEW Collision, Rampage, and preview Wrestle Dream here at the end. But I think today we really need to open up with Matt Riddle. So 30 minutes before SmackDown last night, Matt Riddle tweets out that he is no longer with the WWE. So it was pretty much up to the talent to make these announcements. Every person that was released pretty much said the same thing. I don't know if there's a company policy on what you're supposed to say, but everybody just said, I am no longer with WWE. That was the way whatever talent was released confirmed the news via social media, just with a very, very brief statement. Some talent elaborated a little bit more, thanked a lot of people, thanked the fans, that type of thing, but everybody pretty much went out pretty graciously. And then we got word yesterday, there was a tweet from the WrestleVotes Twitter account that said that we should expect one more release during the course of the weekend. And I'm like, that's specific. One more release. One more release doesn't sound like they're going to cut a recruit. You know, one more release doesn't sound like they're going to cut somebody that's had 2 appearances on NXT in the last 14 months. It sounds like it might be a big name. And 8 minutes later was when Matt Riddle released the statement that he is no longer with WWE. So that one more release must have been Riddle. And I can't say that I'm surprised. I mean, this doesn't really come to a surprise, shouldn't come to a surprise to any of us based on the hot mess that Matt Riddle has made of his life. You talk about wasted potential. I was very high, no pun intended, on Matt Riddle when he first came in. I really liked him. I thought, you know, his kind of goofy demeanor, falling ass backwards into the RKO bro or the RK bro stuff, which really got over. I saw him, provided he kept himself, clean and sober and focused, I always thought he could be a main eventer. I thought he was somebody who could one day challenge or be WWE champion because he does have a legitimacy to him. But, when you live a lifestyle like he's lived, it's just, he can't get out from under it. He can't get out of his own way. He's had a lot of personal problems that have been made public, issues with his family, a divorce and his kids. I don't even like to get into people's personal business, but this is stuff that's kind of been made aware to the public. I don't even know if he sees his kids. And he's had, very, very open public relationships with what he's doing. He's had kind of a wild past. He's had multiple accusations from different women. And again, in the he said, she said world that we live in, I don't feel comfortable, definitively accusing anyone of anything, because we really just don't know. But when you hear multiple stories sounding similar from different people about the sexual behavior of this person, it does raise some eyebrows. He's already had a ton of baggage as it was. He had the issues last year. They sent him to rehab. He was off the wagon immediately. And then everything kind of came to a head a couple of weeks ago when he accused a New York City Port Authority police officer of sexual assault and posted a picture of him on social media, which was quickly deleted. But as you hear the story and the TMZ reports that come out, turns out there was some belligerent passenger on a plane that was, met when it landed, and that person turned out to be Riddle, and some sort of confrontation or issue happened there, but it led to Riddle accusing this officer of these things, and I don't think that really made him look good either. Excuse me. Especially in, an airport environment where there's cameras rolling everywhere. Whatever happened between Riddle and this officer, or Riddle and airport security, was filmed. And he was immediately pulled off the road and hasn't been used since. And then once they started cutting everybody, I guess they saved the best for last. And that was a pretty smart move on WWE's end, if you think about it from a publicity standpoint, because whenever you make cuts like this, it's always bad press. You always get a lot of heap a lot of criticism, and that type of thing comes on WWE because usually these releases coincide with some big financial announcement. Either they're touting record profits in their earnings call, or they're signing TV deals. And that SmackDown deal, making the company $1.5 billion richer, and then they cut all that talent on the very same day. It's just kind of the way they do things. But I guess knowing that they cut a lot of good people, they cut the Dana Brooks, the Alis, the Sheltons, knowing some of the backlash that's going to get, the cherry on top, firing Riddle at the very end, I think did please a lot of fans, because a lot of fans were fed up with him, myself included. I tweeted just last week when the whole airport thing came out. I said, we don't know what happened, but if it turns out that Riddle was drunk or high or both and caused a scene, yet another scene, this time at an airport, this time involving police and security officials, there is nothing about this that is good. And if that's what turns out to be the case, WWE should cut him, because he's had way too many chances. It's like, you think about Jeff Hardy, how many times that company just gave him chances. And Riddle, already kind of was given a big one there, and he came back and it didn't really feel like he was any different. He hasn't smartened up or wised up yet or matured to the level that he needs to be at, because, he's a good looking guy who's on TV and makes some money. He's going to be met with a whole lot of temptation in life. Some people are able to monitor that, manage it, and, be able to do those type of things in moderation, and some can't. And some can't, to the point where it becomes a distraction to their professional lives and winds up costing them jobs. This is a maturity issue and nothing more. Riddle has got to get his act together, because I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I was in his shoes, knowing that I could have been one of the greatest professional wrestlers ever if I just would have, not been a douche. And instead, I chose partying. I chose getting high. I chose shitty behavior over success. And I think that's really weird. And some people are like that. Some people need to get away, clean up, sober up, come back. We've seen a few instances of that. You guys can probably give us suggestions, or examples of that in the chat, of who, kind of didn't have their shit together and then got their shit together. Big Bill comes to mind. I'm trying to think of some others that, maybe had some issues, either with substance abuse or behavioral stuff. Randy Orton, Riddle's tag team partner, perfect example of that same thing. Multiple wellness policy violations. He got 4 of them. He should have been fired. He wasn't. And WWE gave him chance after chance. And eventually, after all the chances dried up, luckily by then he was older and mature and wiser than he was before. And now he doesn't have those issues anymore. Shawn Michaels went through something similar. A lot of wrestlers in the past who have gotten caught up in the wild lifestyle have turned it around. So the only way for Riddle really to get things turned around is for him to get a wake-up call. And some people have already written Riddle off because of the accusations and stuff. And I have to be honest, full disclosure, I don't know enough about those. I know a little bit about the Candy Cartwright stuff, but I was just, based on what she was saying, I just don't know. So obviously Matt Riddle definitely is a sex pest of some kind. I just don't know what degree this is. And I don't feel comfortable writing somebody off or canceling them completely without knowing all of the information. All I can go by is what I do know, and that's Matt Riddle's behavior is shit, and he's an idiot, and he deserved to get fired because there's no excuse. There's no excuse when you have that much potential, that much talent, that much ability, and the only thing that you need to do to be able to have the life you've always dreamed of is not be a moron. Is it just me, or does that sound extremely easy to do? But for some wrestlers, it's just not that easy. And I have zero sympathy for Riddle. I hope that this becomes a journey to recovery for Riddle. I hope that at some point in his life, he realizes that I cannot live this way. It's getting the best of me. It's ruining my life. And get focused. Because think about a Matt Riddle with no sexual accusations. Think about a focused Matt Riddle. Think about a sober Matt Riddle. The dude would be unstoppable. He would be unstoppable, but he just has, he doesn't like anybody. Brock doesn't want to work with him. Seth Rollins doesn't like him. Goldberg doesn't like him. But in that case, I take Riddle's side because I would love to see Riddle beat the fuck out of Goldberg. But he's had issues with other talents where people just don't like him. Because he's just a douche or something. I don't really know how to explain it. But it's a shame for me because I really liked Riddle. I thought his theme song was cool. I liked his kind of stoner bro demeanor. That's my type of style. I like that. So I wanted him to succeed. But unfortunately, couldn't stop stepping on his own dick. Couldn't get out of his own way. And now is suffering the consequences. Matt Riddle is fired from WWE. And Good Mic Work has extremely zero sympathy for the man. So we'll see what he does. I think he's going to hit the independents hard and probably make some appearances here or there, which means he's going to have a lot less responsibilities in terms of conduct outside of the ring, not being in the WWE anymore. It almost makes me think he's going to retreat to move forward. He's going to hit rock bottom first. Like he's not done spiraling yet. Now that he's gone from WWE, he'll probably spiral a little more. He'll hit some sort of point in his life where it'll finally dawn on him that it's time to grow up. And hopefully he will. Hopefully he will make amends, turn his life around, and, in 2 to 5 years' time, be back on the wrestling scene, straight edge, focused, and sober. Let's hope. If not, we may never see Matt Riddle again on a main stage. He might be just limited to appearances on the indie scene from here on out. That's going to be up to Matt. So that was a big one, a big firing. And I think that was one WWE needed to do as well, because the funny thing is the day before, Riddle's name was coming up a lot in these releases. How come Riddle's not being released? And I was laughing, especially the women are fucking hate him, and everybody's just like, how come Riddle's not released? And I just saw that everywhere. And then finally, when I saw he was released, I'm like, patience, see? There you go. He's released. Happy now? He's gone. Here's what Fightful Select had to say yesterday about Matt Riddle's release. And I quote, Matt Riddle wasn't around backstage in WWE even before his release. Fightful Select had confirmed that contrary to rumors last week, former tag team champion Matt Riddle was never planned for the September 18th Raw show. One source that we spoke to said that the rumor likely emerged from outdated information and that he was never in the creative plans for the show. Riddle had been off the road from WWE since alleging that an officer at JFK Airport sexually assaulted him, leading to an internal investigation by the Port Authority. Riddle was removed from the September 11th Raw and taken off the road from WWE. He was never planned for a return. Those we've spoken to claim that since then, Riddle was not factored into immediate creative plans. He was doing some grappling training per usual this week and was said to be in good spirits before his release. However, one WWE higher-up said that he burned through too many chances while in WWE. So that stuff seems all really obvious. Clearly, he burned through chances in WWE. Clearly, management was fed up with him because WWE's firing on all cylinders right now. They have great talent. They are not going to be made or broken by one talent coming or going at this point. And Riddle has never been world champion. He's not at the level of a Roman or a Seth Rollins or anybody like that. He is expendable. And if somebody like that is causing issues, get him the fuck out of there because you don't need him. So we will see what Riddle does. It's very possible that Tony Khan could bring him into AEW. Because he is a big-time level pro wrestler. He has those skills. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have the behavior and the maturity to go along with those skills. But Tony Khan might not give a shit about that. He might bring him in. Who knows? But Riddle coming into AEW, I could see it happening. But, then again, I think Tony Khan needs to make sure that Riddle is going to be reliable because of any of that. The AEW's had enough backstage problems and issues and shit. You don't want to bring anybody in there that's going to make that worse at this point if you're AEW, but you also don't want to ignore great free agent talent that's out there. So we'll see what the future of Riddle is. I think somebody's going to give him a chance. Either AEW will or Impact will or the Indies will definitely book him. And we'll see how his life goes from here. But generally, I think before he starts to get better, he's going to get a little bit worse. And let's just hope it doesn't get too bad in the case of Riddle. And speaking of the WWE releases, we had a bunch, like I said, last week. We had Mustafa Ali, we had Dolph Ziggler, and we had Shelton Benjamin. Those were some of the big ones. We also had Elias, we had Rick Boogs, we had Mason Mansoor, we had Dana Brooke, we had Emma, we had Riddick Moss. We had a lot of recruits from NXT and a couple of pieces of NXT talent as well. But the big ones there in the batch of releases that stuck out to me was number one, Dolph Ziggler. And we talked about Dolph Ziggler on Thursday. We talked about Ali as well. And with those two, Ali specifically, he was booked at No Mercy to face Dominic. So WWE releasing him after he requested his release 2 years ago, seems kind of shitty, but at least they finally let him go. And I feel like they waited way too long. We kind of speculated on Thursday that maybe Ali went to them. Dudes, I asked for my release 2 years ago. You didn't give it to me, citing reasons like, oh, we want to use you, and you didn't do dick with me. I'm still doing dick. I'm in NXT now. You're about to release some more people. Will you just fucking do it? Because if you don't release me, you're just being dicks at this point. We don't know. We don't know if he wanted to be released or not. We know he did 2 years ago, but does it look like between then and now anything has really changed? With the career of Mustafa Ali, does he have any reason to be happier now than he was 2 years ago? No, he was doing dick. So they finally released him. Maybe it was a mercy release. We really don't know. But I can't imagine that Ali is upset about this. If Ali is upset, he's probably more upset that he didn't get cut 2 years ago when he could have gone to AEW then with all that great talent that was showing up there at the same time 2 years ago. Really get in on that. He could still go to AEW when his 90-day is up. I hope he does. And he finds a rebirth because he's very good. Another guy is Shelton Benjamin. Those are the three that I could see making appearances in AEW. It may be four if you count Riddle. But with AEW, you can't just hire everybody that WWE releases, but you can hire the talent that you should hire. You should never pass on an Ali, a Dolph, a Shelton if you have a chance to use them. And Tony Khan likes his new toys. He likes to bring people in. Sometimes he just brings them in to bring them in, and then that's it. Keith Lee came in with a lot of hype and fanfare. And, granted, he's kind of on TV a little bit now. He really has not done a lot since being there. And sometimes Tony Khan likes to bring him out, show him off to everybody, and then not use him again or not bring him back or, put him on the back burner. So hopefully, I feel like that would be a case with Shelton. Like, I feel like Shelton Benjamin would be a really fun surprise challenger for a TNT title or something like that, where he comes in, has a good match, good outing, maybe loses, gets a nice ovation from the crowd. Maybe we get a Shelton Benjamin graphic, maybe he gets a backstage role in the company, something like that. But I think Shelton could possibly come in either to do a couple of matches, but probably not used full time, or just come in the company and be there. Shelton's a good veteran to have around. Plus, he's kind of on the legit side as well. So I definitely think he could have a home there if he wants. Dolph Ziggler, I think, is a lock because Ryan Nemeth hinted that Ziggler was coming into the company before WWE even released him a couple of weeks ago by tweeting, or just a few days ago maybe, by tweeting an hourglass and then the picture of the two of them with the AEW tag team titles. So I think Dolph is a lock to go to AEW. It's going to be Nick and Ryan Nemeth out there, maybe feuding with the Ass Boys or something, who knows? But I definitely see Dolph coming in. And I hope Ali does. In terms of everybody else, whatever. Elias has presence and is great character. A lot of people that they released, like Mace and Mansoor, would be maybe great in Impact or something. But not everybody that WWE cuts can go to AEW. All you're going to do is just crowd your locker room with people that you aren't going to use. But you would also have to be a fool to not sign people like that. That's why no matter how many Tony Khan signs, whether it's 1 or 5, Tony Khan just got to sign everybody. No, he's signing good wrestlers that are available. It's not just about them coming from WWE. It's about them being great professional wrestlers with exposure, a track record. People know who they are, and they're good. If you're a sports team, if you're an NBA team, and LeBron is available, you're not going to be like, oh no, I don't want to sign him because he came from the Lakers. No, you're going to sign him. He's fucking LeBron. What the fuck? So that shouldn't matter. It's only going to matter to the fans because they're the ones that care about stupid shit like that. But I also don't think that Tony Khan should just write a check to everybody. I think that's a little bit idiotic. Now, 2 of the people that were fired was Mansoor and Mace. Apparently they did a Twitch stream on Thursday night, the night of the firing. And I just wrote down a couple of tidbits here that I found that I found interesting. These transcripts come courtesy of Fightful. Thank you so much to Fightful for these. On their WWE firing, Mace says, "You were fired first, right?" Mansoor replied, "Which made me think that you maybe had a shot. I didn't think we would be right next to each other." Mace would then say, or Mace would say, when everybody messaged us, they messaged us together as if we share one brain cell. We figured they would call us both at the same time. My firing story is I was driving my beautiful daughter to school. We were going through a dead zone. There's a dead zone between my house and her school. I didn't get anything. You had informed me that you were fired. I thought I was safe. I had driven through a dead zone, apparently. I should have stayed because when I left the dead zone after dropping off my daughter, I had received a text that said, call me back. I called back and it starts off with small talk. I have Twitter. I know why you're calling. You're not calling to say hello. That was it. Unexpected. Maybe not today. On the death of the Maximum Male models, Mansoor had some things to say. He said, one of the ideas we had in Maximum Male models, this almost happened, not this angle, but we did almost work with Cody Rhodes. I wanted him to hit me with the crossroads and it would break my nose. Then I could do undashing. I wanted to wear the mask like him and do the angle where I thought I was the ugliest person in the world and a horribly disfigured mutant. Everyone kept saying, we want male models to have more edge. We need more aggressive and vicious. What can we do? I kept saying, break my nose. I'm this vicious goblin. He then goes on to say the plan was Maxine was going to entice Otis to join us. We were going to have Otis as a Maximum Male model while Chad Gable is like, quote, they're just trying to use you, Otis. I'll be your real friend, blah, blah, blah. The idea was one day it was Otis's big debut as a Maximum Male model. He was finally going to graduate and come out for a fashion show. Right before he comes out, Chad was going to go, they're setting you up in a trap, Otis, and you don't want me to be happy. And Otis would say, you don't want me to be happy. He comes out, strikes a pose on the platform, and we dump Slime on him. We had been begging the writers to bring back Slime. That is why you guys got released. That is why you guys got released. You do not beg writers for Slime. This isn't Nickelodeon. Jesus Christ, man. Every time they've done some Slime gimmick in WWE, it's been the dumbest fucking thing we've ever seen. We don't want Slime. They just said they wanted you to be edgy. This isn't you can't do that on television. It's fucking WWE. Be more edgy. Slime is your answer? No wonder you got released. I'm just kidding, but I think that's ludicrous that they wanted Slime. Chad was going to come out. We kick his ass. Otis makes the save. It leads to a match. Sadly, the week after we did the segment where we took pictures of Otis, we were supposed to do a match with the Good Brothers. It got cut and pushed back. We got pulled into a person of high ranking's office. I'm not going to say what he said. I'll save it for my book. we were essentially told we were going to have to revamp the maximum male models to adjust, and until then, we would be off TV. We would get cut from being in the background of segments. It all came to a head when we were in the Andre Battle Royal. Producer Jason Jordan comes up with the spot where we get eliminated by Otis and Chad. Maxine is celebrating. We question her. Great, our story is going to continue. No, we were not supposed to be in that match. When that spot aired, the person in the office who told us we weren't supposed to be on TV stood up and said, "Who the hell let the models in?" It happened again because we were in the Battle Royal for the IC title shot. We do a spot with Dexter Lumis and Johnny Gargano. The same thing happened. Who let the models in the match again? Once that happened, we stopped traveling. It was over. Then came the process of pitching stuff because we were told we would be repackaged. Obviously, that didn't happen. And apparently, they even went on to shoot their own stuff and their own ideas and their own creative pitches, which they might have even shown on that Twitch stream. I did not see them. But it sounds like these guys really did their best to turn chicken shit into chicken salad, and they did a pretty good job. I thought they were very entertaining, and I think Mansoor also said during the stream that he kind of wanted to do LA Knight's gimmick, the Max Dupree gimmick that he was doing. He said, "Let me do that. Let me talk. Let me be the guy." But instead, they made it LA Knight, and then they stripped him of that, brought him back as LA Knight. So they had some interesting things to say. It doesn't sound like they're too bitter or broken up about it. It was a really sarcastic, kind of fun-loving stream where they were just blowing off a little steam, I guess, talking about backstage stuff, and didn't seem to be that broken up about it. And hopefully they can find something else to do because they are very entertaining. They're very creative, and I think they could really do something, especially somewhere like Impact. I feel like AEW already has the Ass Boys 2.0, Juice Robinson, a lot of guys that just act fucking crazy and really, really over the top, outlandish outfits. They got Tony Storm doing the thing right now. So I just don't know if the type of gimmick that those guys were doing in WWE would really work there. But if they wanted to kind of continue that model gimmick, which I'm sure they probably can't call themselves Maximum Male Models or Mansoor or Mace, but if they come in with a similar type of gimmick with new names, I think that would be better suited for Impact than anywhere else, to be honest. But best of luck to both of them. I found that to be really interesting that as soon as they got fired, they just went up on Twitch and started talking shit. Very cool. So best of luck to everybody who was released this past week. Just wish you all the best and hope everybody lands on their feet and continues their career in a profitable way. That's all I have to say about that. Let me pause here before we get into our next thing. Cruise to our chat room over here and see what you guys are saying. Oh yeah, well, I didn't talk about the Riddle slapping Gunther because that was already debunked. I don't know if they were lying the whole time, but I know that story about Riddle slapping Gunther was not true, which is why I didn't bring it up. Matt Hardy, there's another really, really good example, Deshaun, of somebody who got their shit together. Kurt Angle, Scott Hall, Jake Roberts. There's been a lot of guys like that. Hell, even John Moxley. Good point, Juliet. He saw and recognized that he was going down the wrong path, and he got ahead of it. He nipped it in the bud. He asked for time off to go to rehab and took care of his issues. That's what a man does. And unfortunately, Matt Riddle just does not have that level of maturity in him yet. But let's hope at some point he finds it. You know what I mean? Oh, yes, I know the OSU game's going on. What's happening with that? Is it still on? Is it like overtime or something? And I'm sorry if I'm taking anybody away from college football. We'll be streaming tomorrow night during the Sunday night game as well. Something I have not talked about in the past couple of streams, but we've known about this for a couple of weeks. Kyrie Sane apparently is heading back to WWE, and I cannot be happier about this. This is really exciting information. We learned this a couple of weeks ago. She would be wrapping up her business with Stardom this month. She's in the process of doing that right now, and she's headed back to WWE. Now, the belief is she's coming back because Triple H is in charge. She ain't gonna do shit under Vince McMahon, but she knows she's going to be booked better under Triple H. Asuka and Io Sky tore it up on SmackDown last night, and she's probably seeing that. All I'm saying is don't put her on the same brand as Nia Jax. Don't put those two in the ring ever again. but I think Kyrie Sane definitely should be on SmackDown with Io Sky and Asuka. And who knows, maybe we'll even get a faction out of them. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm very excited for Kyrie to come back. I've always liked her and thrilled that she's heading back to the WWE. Looking forward to that whenever she turns up, maybe next month. We will have to see. Let's talk about Sheamus. Apparently, he is also, much like Drew McIntyre, at the negotiating table with WWE. His contract is up in 2024, next year. We don't really know what time of the year it's up, only that it's up. So with McIntyre, I could maybe see him leaving. You know, he is somebody that I think could be a world champion anywhere, including AEW, and could come in there and automatically be a top star, whether he's Drew Gallows or Drew McIntyre or whatever. Or not Drew Gallows. What was he on the... What was his indie name? It's not Drew Gallows. Is it Drew Gallows? Help me. I'm thinking of Luke Gallows. I'm getting confused with Luke Gallows. Yeah, it was Drew Gallows. Jerry Callow, right? It was Drew. Was it Drew Gallo before when he left WWE and came back? Anyway, whether he's that name or McIntyre or whatever, I think he's a top star anywhere. Sheamus, on the other hand, he can't leave WWE. He can't. His whole career is there. Leaving at this point, he's what, 44 years old or something like that? Leaving at this point in your career and completely, I guess, what's the word I'm trying to use here? Completely reinventing his persona, his character, his name. You know, I'm sure you could still have the spiky hair and the chain thing and that, but you're going to go to AEW now. What are you going to be called? You probably can't be Sheamus. I don't know how trademarks work. I had heard at one point that you can't trademark just one singular first name, but they could probably prevent him from using it, right? He'd have to be something else, maybe another Irish name. Who knows? But I just don't see that being a possibility for Sheamus. For him to go chasing a bag of money at this point. WWE, I'm sure, has always paid him well. He's racked up a lot of years of service in WWE, made a lot of money. I can't imagine someone like Sheamus spending 98% of his career in WWE and then finishing off the last two somewhere else. It's what Edge might do. You know, and when you think about Edge going to AEW and think about the relationship that Edge and Sheamus has, maybe that's what maybe that's what Sheamus is holding out and waiting for. Maybe he's going to see if Edge is going to go there. If he goes, maybe I'll go too. You know, we had some bangers here in the company. His final match here. Maybe we could go take our tour and take our show on the road over there. I don't know, but I think at the end of the day, Sheamus is somebody that should be WWE for life. He has developed and created that persona and that character all in WWE. It wouldn't look right for him to be anywhere else. Plus, he would have to be so drastically different in terms of his name and his, his presentation. I just don't see what he could do elsewhere. And when I say elsewhere, really the only option would be AEW in terms of somebody that could really pay him, unless he's got some crazy aspiration to go hit a Japan run before he retires and just go beat the hell out of some people over there, get in the ring with Suzuki and Ishii and guys like that, if that's what he wants to do. But I don't feel like that would be realistic for him either. I just think a re-upping with WWE for one more contract is probably what Sheamus should do. And if he just had his whole career in WWE and went into the Hall of Fame, I do believe he's a Hall of Famer. I think Sheamus has done some of the best work of his career in the last couple of years, and don't want to see him leave. I don't think AEW would be a good place for him. I think WWE is where he should stay, and that's what I expect. So in my personal opinion, Sheamus ain't leaving, but perhaps he is waiting to see what McIntyre does, to see what Edge does, just so he can weigh all of his options. But at the end of the day, if I'm Sheamus, I would almost be sad to leave WWE unless they're offering me an insulting offer. Unless their offer comes around and Sheamus looks at it and he's like, "You got to be fucking kidding me. I'm offended by this. Fuck you. I'm going to AEW." Unless something like that happened, which I don't think it did. WWE, I believe, pays their talent very fairly. Especially someone like Sheamus is probably making pretty decent bucks, and he's probably made millions already in WWE. So it's probably not too much financial, but if the financial differences, if they're far enough on the financial number, that could cause some heat, and that could, just out of spite, make Sheamus want to go. He doesn't want to take a lowball offer, just because WWE knows that it's probably best for him too, just to stay there. So they feel like they could maybe offer him a little bit less. Pay your fucking talent, man. You just signed a $1.5 billion TV deal, and you're going to do the same thing for Monday Night Raw, maybe even for a little bit more. So you're going to have $3 or $4 billion coming into the company here in the next year, and you're going to lowball Sheamus on a couple $100,000. Give me a break. Give the man what he wants. He's earned every fucking penny. Jade Cargill, we got some news on Jade. Now, Jade apparently has reported to the WWE PC. We have not seen any footage or pictures or information or confirmation of this. That was just what was reported last week. WWE also this week apparently filed a trademark for Jada Parker. Jada spelled Jaida, Parker. Who's that name going to be for? I think there's only one. I think that answers our question. Now, I had said that I don't believe WWE needs to change Jade Cargill's name. I believe that she can come right in the company as Jade Cargill because that's what fans know her as, and everything will be fine. But I also don't think it would be the worst thing if they changed her name because that's what they do to everybody. Even people with a lot bigger and better followings than Jade or bigger careers than Jade have come in and had their names changed, but some haven't. You know, some people like AJ Styles and CM Punk can be that wherever. We have Shayna Baszler. We had Ronda Rousey. We got Chelsea Green in the company right now. There's plenty of women who use their names, but there's plenty of women who don't, like Rhea Ripley, like Bianca Belair, like plenty of other top star, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Bayley. None of them are using their real names. So, except for Becky, kind of. But Charlotte is Ashley, and Becky, I don't even know what Bayley's real name is. I don't even know. Aunt Pam, right? She was rocking the Aunt Pam hair for a while. Maybe it's Pam. But if Jade Cargill turns out to be Jada Parker, I might be in the minority here and say that I don't hate that. Because even though I think Jade Cargill could use her name because that's what we're used to, you know, doesn't sound that much like a wrestling name, Cargill. It's kind of, I don't know, they thought of something better. And hell, at least they kept it in the same spirit of Jade Cargill. And that's something else that I can sometimes, and you guys help me out with other examples of this. Sometimes they'll take a name and they'll tweak it just a little. Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan. That's exactly kind of what they're doing with Cargill. They're not calling her Cargill Jade, but it kind of just a little tweaking like that. That's the type of thing it looks like they're doing with Jade Cargill. She's going to be known as Jada Parker. The suggestion I had for WWE in terms of how to announce her signing or debut her was to publicly announce the signing on social media. Give her the Taka Michinoku in 1998 treatment. Give her the contract signing, the picture, photo op with Triple H, maybe Nick Khan, posted to social media. WWE is pleased to announce the free agent signing of Jade Cargill. She'll be starting in the Performance Center this week, looking very forward to her future, blah, blah, blah. And then once that announcement is made public and she's treated like a real legit free agent, then you can do whatever you want with her in terms of debuting her. You can have her work out on the PC for a while until she's ready. You can start her in NXT. You can move her right to the main roster. You got options. But in terms of her signing, it was something that I thought they should publicly announce. And if they were going to do that, I feel like they would have done it by now. So my suggestion probably isn't going to come to be. And it does sound like Jade Cargill will in fact be Jada Parker. Oh, okay. Mr. All Days Off says, Google says Jada Parker is for someone else. I hope it is, but then you're going to have a Jade and a Jada. You have a Jade Parker and Jade Cargill. Those are awfully similar names. So I could be wrong about that. I just saw the trademark and just assumed it was for Jade Cargill. I would be fine if I was wrong because I think it would be cool if WWE kept her real name. But if the compromise is we're not going to use your real name, we're going to change it to Jada Parker, it's not that bad. Is it any worse than completely changing a name up like Ripley or Bianca Belair or whatever? So, kind of keeping it similar to where it's not going to be that hard of a transition for the fans. Hell, they changed Gunther's name right in the middle of his run from Walter to Gunther, and it did very little to slow him down. I think we were all pissed off about it for about 2 weeks, but then his work was what was the most important. His matches and his work and his persona and his championship run. That was way more important, I think, to me and a lot of wrestling fans than WWE doing their typical stupid WWE shit and fucking with people's names for no reason. We just want to make him Gunther now. I thought Walter was a great name. I love the name Walter. It was my grandfather's name, my dad's middle name. I loved it the way it was all spelled out. I don't know why they thought Gunther was better than Walter. He didn't need the name change. He could be Walter right now and everything would be fine. It was completely fucking pointless. But at the end of the day, we still got used to it. Didn't we? Didn't we? I hate to admit it, but I got used to Gunther. I'm fine with calling him that now. I didn't like that they changed it. I thought it was stupid that they did it in the first place. But they also changed the name of their own fucking company one time from WWF to WWE, and that was weird. But again, now it feels weird to say WWF. I'm used to it now. So it just takes getting used to. One name I might not ever get used to is Mercedes Moné. I hate her song. But anyway, Jade Cargill, Jada Parker, whatever she's going to be called, girl, best of luck to you in NXT, the PC, your WWE career. I'm very excited for her to debut whenever that is. They might hold her off until the end of the year, have her work out in the PC and pop her in the Royal Rumble. Who knows? But the fact that she's there is pretty exciting, and hopefully we'll start hearing a little bit about her. Speaking of the Performance Center, Randy Orton was also photographed and video was taken of him leaving the PC. So it sounds like he's been there working out, working on his hopeful return to the ring. Looks like that will not involve Riddle now. Randy Orton will just be coming back to TV at some point. I don't think he would be there working out in the PC if there wasn't plans for a return in place, or at least, he was on the road to return. So hopefully we're closer to Randy Orton actually showing back up on WWE TV. We talked about the SmackDown deal on Thursday. Now, WWE signed a 5-year deal with NBC Universal to move SmackDown to the USA Network in October of 2024. So we only have 1 year left of SmackDown on Fox. They are now leaving network television, going back to cable. This deal was a 40% increase from their previous deal on Fox, but was lower apparently than what a lot of shareholders expected. They expected a bigger increase than that, and the TKO stock dropped amidst this news. And that kind of surprised me because I was happy about the deal. I like the fact that WWE has got programming on USA Network. It's easy for me. It's been on USA Network since I was 6 years old in the early 80s, and it's maintained a relationship with them nearly throughout the last 40 years, with the exception of that TNN split, or TNN stint that Raw did back in the 2000s. But apparently moving to SmackDown might drastically and adversely affect the future of Monday Night Raw. I was hoping that NBC Universal would also retain the rights to Monday Night Raw. I'm very comfortable as a fan, somebody who loves nostalgia. I really am comfortable with Raw being on USA because I've been watching Raw before it was Raw. Primetime wrestling on the USA Network that then turned into Raw. It's been on that channel forever, and I really would like it to stay there. However, with this SmackDown deal now, and the shareholders apparently being disappointed in the deal that they got, the drop in the stock price makes me wonder if they are now going to have to seek out a bigger deal for Monday Night Raw. They might be looking for that $2 billion figure, especially if they add NXT to the mix. And we talked about that on Thursday, that there is a possibility that Monday Night Raw not only could leave the USA Network, but we need to entertain the thought that Raw could leave Mondays altogether. Because right now, for the past 30 plus years, they have been head to head with Monday Night Football, which has done a number on their ratings, during the fall season. We've seen the dip that Raw took. They are down big. They're in the 1.82 million range, dropping all the way down to 1.3. That's, a 500,000 drop off there on average that they're suffering from Monday Night Football that I'm sure they would like to recoup. So if they decided that they move Monday Night Raw to another night, that's going to be really weird. I think the only night that would make any sense would be maybe Tuesday and then moving NXT to a different night, or putting Raw on Thursday, and then you've got Raw and SmackDown back to back again. I don't know what the answer is, but it makes me worried for the future of Raw, the fact that the stock dropped and the shareholders apparently pissed that the deal wasn't bigger, which means WWE might now be motivated to to go find that bigger deal and put Raw on whoever gives them the most money. And that will suck if it turns out to be a Disney or an Amazon or someplace crazy that pays WWE what they want, but then also says we don't want to be affected by those Monday Night Football ratings, so we'll pay you more to move Raw to another night. And then, of course, WWE says no problem. And now now you've moved Raw away from its home. You've moved SmackDown off of network TV back onto cable. You know, it's weird what the motivations are now, because now it's just all about taking that money. You know, they're going to get more exposure, bigger ratings on Fox than they are on USA Network. It's just a fact. But they still chose to go back to the USA Network because of the amount of money that they were given. So now the same thing might be true for Monday Night Raw, and any disappointment the shareholders had about the deal, WWE might try to make that up with the next one, which makes me worried. So let's hope that our wrestling lives aren't fucked up that badly by the next TV negotiation rights deal, because I am worried about the future of Monday Night Raw big time. So we will see. We'll monitor the situation. Negotiations are going to be ongoing, and we'll probably hear something in the next few months about what WWE plans to do with Monday Night Raw, because they probably are going to want to give everyone proper notice on Raw when Raw is either staying or going, and let the fans know what to expect in the future. So we will see. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried. Oh, okay. JJ Leg is filling me in here. Okay. JJ Leg, thanks for the $5. Jada Parker is a current NXT talent. I don't know who she was before, but she worked house shows under the name this weekend. Thank you. See, that was me not doing my research. I just saw WWE trademark Jada Parker. I'm like, there you go. That might be her name. Okay, that's great news. That means Jade Cargill is still safe. She might be Jade Cargill, or they might be changing her name to something even crazier so they don't have a Jada and a Jade in there. She might come out as, Jennifer McMichaels or something. I don't know. So we'll have to see, but that's good news. Thank you for informing and educating good Mike work on something that he didn't know. So awesome. Okay. That makes me happy. Let me see what else we got in here. Making sure I didn't miss any super chats. Super chats are open, by the way. Thanks to those of you who have dropped some in here already. Yeah, Lynn Trey, WWE's ratings has always been affected by NFL. That's my point. The fact that they've always been affected doesn't change the fact that they might not want to have Raw affected. Wouldn't it be great if they didn't have to worry about 4 months a year where our ratings are shit? Doesn't matter how long it's been going on. You still probably would like to do without that. But back in the day, the ratings of Monday Night Football to WWE didn't matter as much, back when Raw started. Monday Night Football really didn't fucking matter, really. But now, with the way wrestling has evolved and the audience that it draws, it can coincide and with sports a little bit and screw things up. So WWE would probably love to have Monday Night Raw 365 with no sports going up against it. So that's why they might move it to another night. But there's always something going on. If they move it to another night, you're gonna have to contend with basketball or hockey or baseball or whatever. But Monday Night Football is such an institution here in the U.S. that I can understand why a company now, after a merger, TKO, and they're looking at Raw's numbers. I'm like, why the fuck are we on Mondays? We could look at the ratings we're pulling when football is not on. Why wouldn't we explore taking that year round? Something to think about. Do not be surprised if we have a Thursday Night Raw or some Thursday Raw Thursday. Remember that? It might be back. Let's talk a little bit about last night's SmackDown. SmackDown was a pretty interesting show, and it had some major changes to it. And I can't believe I guess I can believe it, but basically one of the big things we saw last night on SmackDown was what went down between John Cena, AJ Styles, and the Bloodline, and LA Knight. Now, earlier on in the day, it was reported that LA Knight was going to be part of a big segment tonight, or last night on SmackDown. And Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso have contracts for a tag team match at Fastlane to take on, I guess, John Cena and AJ Styles. And the point was to get these contracts signed tonight, or whatever. And backstage, they get to AJ. They attack AJ backstage, wipe him out. He's taken away in an ambulance. And then in the main event segment that's supposed to be the contract signing thing, John Cena gets his ass kicked by Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso. And I guess the original plan was after AJ got taken out for LA Knight to come down and make the save on John Cena and then sign the contracts, LA Knight and John Cena taking on Jimmy and Solo at Fastlane. That apparently was what the plan originally was. However, before SmackDown during the day, LA Knight tested positive for COVID and he was sent home from the building. So that drastically altered what WWE wanted to do in the main event. And in the main event segment, it really felt like they basically still ran the show as planned, just without LA Knight, because there was long gaps of kind of stalling there at the end to a point where it's the exact type of scenario where someone would come down and make the save or somebody's music would play. And my only thought is that they are hoping that LA Knight and are assuming that LA Knight will be COVID-free by the time Fastlane comes around. Because if this was an injury, then they probably would have just scrapped the AJ plans of getting attacked backstage and just have him come out and save John Cena. And then it's AJ and Cena against Solo and Jimmy. But since they didn't do that, that's probably because the plan is still to go with LA Knight and John Cena against those guys. So LA Knight now has to become COVID-free once he's back on TV. Hopefully there's time to still make this match. And SmackDown was in Glendale, Arizona last night, and I guess LA Knight lives in California. So I had a question that I asked on Twitter today. I was curious about these positive tests. Like, for example, if you show up to the arena and you test positive for COVID and they send you home, what do they mean they send you home? Do you get sent home or do you have to go to the hotel and quarantine? Now, in LA Knight's case, he could have just driven from Arizona to home. It wouldn't have been that far of a drive, 6-7 hours. I live in San Diego. I've made the trip out to Arizona before. It's not that bad. So he could totally just get in his car and drive home. But let's say they weren't in Arizona last night. Let's say they were in Chicago or New York or Florida. What does LA Knight do? He can't just get on a plane. I mean, he could. It's very irresponsible and kind of shitty to do that. But I suppose he could just fly home. Or does he go back to the hotel, quarantine for 2 to 5 days or whatever? Either way, it sucks. It's probably a huge pain in the ass. So I don't know where the talent goes, and I don't know if WWE really has a policy in place for what they want or expect talent to do in the event that they are testing positive for COVID before a show. Send them out of the building. Where do they go? Fucking McDonald's? What do I do? Back to the hotel? I already checked out. Where am I supposed to go? What do they do? I'm sure WWE, management makes arrangements for them. I don't know, but it's something that made me wonder what they do and if they have kind of a policy or if it's case-by-case basis. It just depends on when you test positive, where you test positive, what they have planned for you. If you're just a talent that's not even booked for the show and you test positive, no big deal. You get COVID, go home. What if you're booked in the main event segment? What if you got a match on pay-per-view in 4 days, but you've tested positive for COVID now? We haven't had too many monkey wrenches. Imagine on WrestleMania. Imagine WrestleMania 39, day of night 2, Roman tests positive. Let me ask you this. Hypothetically, that happens. Roman tests positive for COVID. Okay, maybe not Roman. Well, shit, maybe nothing involving Roman because he's got a compromised immune system with leukemia. Okay, let's not factor in Roman. Let's talk about night 1. Kevin Owens gets COVID on night 1. Now your night 1 main event is in jeopardy. Do you send him out there anyway? Do you? Let's go out there and work the match. You might give COVID to 2 of your opponents, but it's what has to be done. Maybe they do it in a situation like that. I mean, if it's a big pay-per-view and you're talking main event of WrestleMania, and then Cody gets COVID, I think Cody goes out there and performs and then just gets his ass quarantined right after that as best he can. It's a risk you have to take. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just wildly speculating here. But I'm really glad that we haven't found ourselves in a situation where a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam or a Money in the Bank main event or something like that gets canceled because of a last-minute COVID test. And I'm wondering if there has been any secret incidents of that happening, where somebody's got a big match. Seth's got a main event match that night. He's like, hey, I tested positive. Just go out there anyway. We don't know. But made me wonder about the protocol for something like that. But best of luck to LA Knight. Get well soon. Best wishes in your recovery. Hopefully his COVID will not be a bad one. I know sometimes it can get really gnarly. Mine was not fun, but it was really no worse than taking the vaccine. The vaccine wiped me out. But when I got COVID, it was fine. I passed it through in about 5 days and I was good to go. But it was rough for a couple of days there. So hopefully LA Knight's got a mild case of it and it's not too bad because I know it can be bad on occasion. So best wishes out to LA Knight. Get well soon. Fastlane is coming up on October 7th, which is still 2 weeks away. So hopefully that'll be enough time for LA Knight to clear the COVID out, get back to TV, and be able to make the match at Fastlane. Fingers crossed on that because that's going to be a big rub with him and John Cena in that match. And I think that's something that he needs. Also, last night on SmackDown, Io Sky and Asuka had a tremendous match for the WWE Women's Championship, and WWE gave them 20 plus minutes. I think we had two commercial breaks in this match. And that's incredible. Charlotte, of course, because there's a title match going on, she has to have her ass out there. So she's at ringside for all that shit. Bayley is there being a pain in the ass. During the match, she puts Io Sky's foot on the ropes during a pin attempt, which prompts Charlotte to get up out of the seat and run over and decks Bayley and knocks Bayley down. In the confusion, Io nails Asuka in the back with a pair of knees and then hits her moonsault for the win to retain the championship. And I thought that match was tremendous. It wasn't a clean win, but hey, at least it wasn't a disqualification either. And that was really good stuff. Get back soon, Kyrie Sane, because you need to get in the mix here. And I'm hoping, since Charlotte kind of attacked Bayley, that we might get like a Charlotte and Bayley program. It would be really nice, WWE. It would be really, really nice if you guys could book Charlotte in a program that for once doesn't involve the fucking title. So if Charlotte and Bayley want to work a little something, good. It will be nice to see two of these four horsewomen go at it without a belt on the line for fucking once. So that would be great, allowing Io to continue her run for a little while longer before Charlotte inevitably takes the belt from her, because I'm sure that's what's going to happen. And at some point, we're going to have to see Bianca Belair back as well. I'm really excited to get her back whenever that might be, and if it's going to involve any sort of a gimmick change for her, if they're ready to pull the trigger on a heel turn yet, or if they want to wait with Bianca a little longer and continue to run with her as a babyface and the merch mover like she is. But they might be setting up plans for her to go heel, because we also saw the Street Profits lose a tag team match to the LWO members, Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. Lashley, of course, has been hanging out with the Street Profits. He's got them dressing like him. He bought them suits, and he's trying to, I guess, instill this killer instinct in them. Because one thing that's bothered me about this new alliance is that, I guess I shouldn't say bothered me, it confused me, but now I am a little bit more okay with it. When the Street Profits kind of joined Lashley, I'm like, great, this is what they need. They're going to be good, badass suit and wearing heels, maybe form some, new rendition of the Hurt Business. And moving them to heels means that they're probably going to have a change in their theme music, in their gear. And they really didn't. They still came out to that very baby-facey theme of theirs. And I'm like, this doesn't fit them at all. This is like Nia Jax's poppy bullshit that she came out to. And it's not the presentation I would expect from two guys that kind of recently turned heel. Well, apparently the reason that is because they're going to kind of tell a story here with this. And it's not just going to be an overnight thing where these guys woke up one morning and decided they want to be heels and be with Bobby Lashley. Lashley is trying to mentor them. He's trying to turn them into soldiers for him. And during the match, when Ray is attempting to get back in the ring, Lashley grabs him and attacks him and slams him on the ring apron and throws him back in the ring. Dawkins sees this and looks confused, as if he almost doesn't want to pin Ray, like looking at Ray and looking at Lashley. And Lashley's like, get him, motherfucker, get him. So he picks him up. Ray's able to reverse it, roll up Dawkins for the win, and win the match, pissing off Bobby Lashley. He leaves mad. He confronts the two of them backstage later on, demanding the suits that he bought for them back. You guys don't deserve the suits. Give them back to me, and kind of tears him a new one. So I like this. This means, at least in my head, that Street Profits are on their way to that change. WWE hasn't done a half-ass heel turn. where they haven't followed all the way through. Because when I saw Street Profits and Lashley together, I'm like, those are three good looking dudes right there. But then when they didn't change the Street Profits up at all, I'm like, well, what's the fucking point then? Now you're starting to see that. Now the Street Profits are probably going to get that killer instinct. And maybe next week on SmackDown, they'll have another match. This time, maybe they'll cheat to win. Maybe they'll be a little bit more vicious or do whatever Lashley is wanting them to do. And that will continue into their final transformation into heel characters that hopefully will come with a new look, new-ish look, and new music. Maybe their gear doesn't need to completely change, just maybe needs to be darker colors or something a little bit more menacing looking, not so bright and colorful. Drop those solo cups, stop dancing when you come out to the ring, and maybe have more Bobby Lashley type of theme music. And I think that's what we're transitioning into here. And once that transformation is complete and that transition is complete, it would be really cool if they added Bianca to the mix, you know, and you got Judgment Day doing their thing on Raw and whatever this faction is going to be called doing their thing on SmackDown. That right there is a Survivor Series match, but unfortunately, I don't think there's time to have that done. But I do like how we have had some of the factions, you know, cross over with the Judgment Day coming over to SmackDown and stuff. They could be setting up a War Games match, maybe a 3-team War Games match like we watched last week, Fall Brawl 98, with that ridiculously stupid War Games match, dumbest one I've ever seen, where anybody could win. It was every man for themselves, and the match didn't start when everybody was in the ring. The first two people in the ring could have a pinfall and end the match. It was ridiculous. Dumbest thing we've ever watched together, I think. I just thought that was hilarious. But maybe they're planning something like that, 3 teams or something, who knows. But I'm excited for the future of the Street Profits and Lashley, and I really liked what I saw last night because that's telling me that WWE also knows that Street Profits do need to undergo, you know, one final transformation to fully, you know, make that turn into heels and being with Bobby Lashley. So we will keep our eye on that. Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, I think, also beat Butch and Ridge, I think, right. Boy, they're an annoying team. And I loved that Pretty Deadly segment where they're like kind of in rehab and he's knocking the drink off the table and he's using the shake weight and oh, shit was hilarious. Throwing tennis balls in the rehab and stuff. And the doctor's like, he's going to be fine, but he's fucking milking everything. Those two guys are so entertaining. I love them. I'm really excited for, is it Elton? Elton is the one that separated his shoulder. We're ready for him to get healthy again because that team is all kinds of entertaining. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what we saw on SmackDown last night. Not quite as good of a show as the previous week with The Rock, but still not too shabby. Hey, Greg, I have a great idea. Montez should turn on Dawkins and become heel Seth Rollins 2015 with Lashley as his heel leader. Yeah, but it feels like they're keeping the Street Profits together. I thought Montez was due for a singles push as well, but I'm kind of glad they're keeping them together right now. I think that might be a slower transition to get Montez into that heel character if you can do it with friends, do it with Dawkins, do it with Lashley, and then later you can still do a turn. You know, maybe you can even have something like Dawkins, who was the one last night that seemed a little bit hesitant about Lashley's behavior. You might be on to something there, Mr. All Days Off. I don't know. I feel like they're going to run with these 3 for a while, but you do now have a possibility of maybe Dawkins in the future turning face. You know, maybe he's fed up with the antics of his teammate and Bobby Lashley, and he's starting to, you know, his conscience is getting to him or something, and he doesn't like winning all these matches by cheating and shit like that. And he turns babyface, and then Montez and Lashley attack him or something like that. And that would set into motion pretty much what you are suggesting there. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I kind of think the Street Profits, at least for right now, are going to stick together. Lynn Trey, what up, man? Celebrating our first super chat from you. Appreciate that 5, dude. They need to use Cena better. They're wasting. No, I already hate this. I already hate your message. I already disagree. They need to use Cena better. They're wasting John's time. Nobody wants to see Charlotte break the record. Cena can have a short world title run. You are speaking from the perspective of a massive John Cena mark. And you know what, Lynn Trey? I'm one too, because I've always had John Cena's back. But I'm not ridiculous. WWE is using John Cena just fine. There's nothing at all wrong with how they're using John Cena. He's not coming back to be at the top of the world or win the title or anything like that. He's coming back because there's a fucking strike and he's got some free time. That's it. What he can do is give his superstar rub to people like LA Knight and other people, maybe like Cody or somebody else that can use his legendary status. Cena is being used perfectly. He doesn't need to be used better. He can't be used any better. This is exactly what he needs to do. And you will not convince me otherwise, because I think it's nice to see Cena back. Now, last year, you'd have a point. Last year, they had Cena a couple of times, and what did he do? He worked dark matches. Then, Lynn Trey, then I'm on your side. He was used like shit when WWE had the opportunity to use him, and for whatever reason, they didn't. This time, they actually are, and he's getting in the mix a little bit, getting physical. I love his relationship with AJ Styles. I like that they're kind of homies now, and the fact that he's going to be used to help elevate this new star in LA Knight at Fastlane is nothing at all to complain about. Now, I will agree that I don't want to see Charlotte break the record, but guess what? She is. She is. She's going to break it, and there's nothing I or you or anybody in the chat can do to stop it. Nothing. Just accept it. Take it in. All right, who's next? Shell Shock. I've always had Cena's back. You guys know that. I will say this, though, about John Cena. I don't really care or mind or pay it any mind that WWE keeps referring to him as the greatest of all time. It's to the point now where they're introducing him as the greatest of all time. And a lot of fans are taking exception to this and all of that and whatever. But like I've said for 10 years, pick your battles. If there is one thing that we know to be true about WWE, is they love their showmanship, their embellishment, their catchphrases, their buzzwords, all the stupid shit that they repeat over and over, and they burn and brand and tattoo it into your brain. It's always what they've done. A couple of years ago, they tried to tell us that an empty arena match between Edge and Randy Orton was the greatest match ever. The greatest wrestling match ever. In front of video screens is what they were trying to tell us. So when they're going to say something idiotic like that, I'm not going to pay too much mind to them saying John Cena is the greatest of all time. I think John Cena is one of the greatest of all time in WWE history. In WWE's history, John Cena, like it or not, is going to go down as a legend. He is Bruno. He is Hogan. He is Savage. He is probably on par with them. You know, he's a Bruno. He's a Hogan. He's a Rock. He's an Austin. He is. Is he greater than those guys? Probably not, but he's on that list of WWE's all-time greats. And there's going to be another name joining that list with him in a few years, Mr. Roman Reigns. So I think it's very important for WWE to cement and solidify their modern history and their modern legacy, because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to, in 20 years, who are going to be 40 years old, who were just children when Cena was on top. And those people probably are going to look back at Cena in a very, very positive light as to how dominant, how much of a big deal he was when they were kids, just like I recognize and acknowledge that with Hulk Hogan when I was 5 years old or 8 years old when he was on top. So WWE cementing Cena as one of the greatest and calling him the greatest of all time is not something I get pissed about, because WWE exaggerates and lies about everything. Fans fucking crawled all up Tony Khan's ass for announcing the paid attendance for All In, and then the attended attendance, turnstile attendance, turned out to be 10,000 less. He's a liar. Well, WWE has lied about every single motherfucking attendance number they have ever announced. So you're gonna be fine with 100 lies, pissed about one. That's ridiculous. So I don't, at this point in my life, care about WWE's catchphrases. Let them embellish the fuck out of everything, because they're probably going to call Charlotte the greatest of all time at some point. And if they want to attach these nicknames or these buzzwords or catchphrases to people to push their importance or their legacies, or to manufacture some sort of, legendary status in someone, let them. It's oxygen to WWE. It's literally what they do. So I'm not really offended by them calling John Cena the greatest of all time, because just because they say it doesn't make it true. and fans shouldn't be that mad about it. I saw a lot of people heaping a lot of shit on WWE for that. I'm like, give WWE a break. Have you not met them? Have you met WWE? This is exactly the type of shit they fucking live for. So it didn't affect me at all, but apparently it was a pretty big topic of conversation that John Cena should not be referred to as the greatest of all time. I don't care if they refer to him as the greatest potato of all time. Greg doesn't give a fuck. Move on. Max Pokebro, I love Pretty Deadly, but the tag teams in general are in limbo because the tag titles are still together. Well, that's a good point, Max. Appreciate the $5. I don't know if they're ever going to separate these titles out. I've been calling for it since WrestleMania, and then I got all excited, all happy, because Triple H unveils the women's title and the Seth belt. I'm like, great, here we go. We're doing it. And then they just forgot about the tag belts. And the fact that they did not create one set of tag team titles and present those to Sammy and Owens was basically telling me that the plan is to separate these belts out again. So maybe they're just waiting. Maybe they're killing time, trying to figure out where and when and how to do that. And I think once they do, then I guess we're going to have two sets of tag team titles back in WWE again, one on each show. But I've always maintained you don't need it. But I guess these days it's not like the 80s, where, sometimes you'd have very, very over popular tag teams who would just never win the tag team titles. Nowadays in WWE, it feels like if you're a featured tag team in WWE, at some point, you're going to win the title. 9 out of 10 teams. If they're in the company for any significant amount of time and they're successful, they will win the titles. They will. War Raiders have not won them yet, right? Or have they? Or not? What the fuck are they called? Viking Boys? Have the Viking Boys won the tag titles? I kind of think they did, but I kind of think they didn't. I don't remember. But that's my point. The tag titles, change hands so frequently that I don't even remember if teams hold the belt or not. So I'm hoping that WWE also figures out what they want to do with that. It is a little bit frustrating when they're just not doing anything, but it might mean that they're just trying to figure out creative ideas as to how to make this story work if they want to re-separate out again these tag team titles. I would love for a belt redesign, a couple of belts that might resemble the old school tag team titles. I want everything to be old school. That's all I'm ever going to say. I want the old Winged Eagle. I want the old black strap classic IC, and I want the old tags. But I don't think we're going to get any of those ever again. And if they are going to have Raw and SmackDown titles, that means they're going to be probably still fucking red and blue. But maybe not. Maybe they'll do the world champion and the WWE thing like they did back in the day with the world tags and the WWE tags. And the funny thing is I completely lost track of the WWE Tag Team Championship lineage, because I know we had one set of tags, but then once we got into the early 2000s, then Raw had a tag title, and I think the Raw tag team titles were technically could be traced back to the WWE tag team titles, right? And then they created the SmackDown tags. Is that how it worked? And there was like a tournament, because the SmackDown tag team titles did kind of look like the old tag belts. It kind of had that design, that vibe. And the Raw belts look like shit, like back in 2003 when like Resistance had the belts and stuff. I feel like it was the Raw titles, but I've kind of lost track of how that lineage played out and how many times we've swapped championships and done belt swaps. It's a mess. And there's nothing I hate more than a disorganized, convoluted, fucked up championship lineage. It annoys me. So hopefully they will figure out the tag team championships soon. Yeah, we got the NXT tag team titles as well. There's tag team titles all over this place, I swear. All right, what's next? Let's just talk a little bit about Rampage last night before we get into our Collision review for tonight. Last night's Rampage was interesting because we saw the crowning of new Ring of Honor Trios champions. The Bucks, Young Bucks and Hangman Page defeated the Mogul Embassy on Rampage last night to win the Ring of Honor Trios titles. Now, Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland have got a big match coming up at Wrestle Dream. I think the contract signing to that is on Wednesday. They had a little stare down after the match, after the Bucks and Hangman won. And now they are the Ring of Honor Trios champions. So what does that mean? Bucks now are Trios champions with Kenny, now with Hangman. So all the elite got to be champs together. And when you see Bucks and Hangman winning the trios. We got MJF and Adam Cole as the Ring of Honor tag title holders. You had Claudio as the Ring of Honor champion. Now it's Eddie Kingston. And you see a lot of the main AEW roster winning a lot of Ring of Honor belts really, really recently. So that means something's happening. And a lot of people are thinking it might be a TV deal for Ring of Honor. We've heard a lot of news about AEW possibly striking a deal with Max next year. That would be tremendous if they were able to do that and get the pay-per-views in there somehow embedded in there. And then if they're trying to load up the Ring of Honor roster with some well-known champions right now, that might be because of an upcoming TV deal. And maybe they want these champions there to start the show and get it running. But I don't know where this would air, if it would be on cable TV or a streaming type of thing or what the plan is, but it seems like they're setting up some sort of announcement or news or change in Ring of Honor. Just not totally sure what that's going to be. I guess it's going to be some sort of TV deal, because why else would they be doing this? Fans were kind of complaining last year about, or earlier this year too, I think it was mostly last year, about all the belts and AEW is too many belts, because belts make them mad, I guess. So to AEW's credit, they did try to limit that a little bit. And for most of the year, it feels like they haven't had 16 belts on every show. Now we're back to that. But I'm hoping it's just kind of a temporary thing while Tony Khan sets up whatever he has planned for Ring of Honor. But we will see, because a lot of those belts now are being held by main AEW roster talent, and that's strange. We also saw Santana. Man, he looks good, doesn't he? It's good to see him back in the ring. He just looks like he got a little bit bigger, too. He defeated Bronson last night on Rampage. And then after the match, Ortiz walked to the ramp and stared down Santana. Santana walked right up to him. They stared at each other. Santana walked away, and Ortiz rolled his eyes. And tonight on Collision, we saw a pre-tape vignette for Ortiz. We saw one for Santana last week. This time we get one for Ortiz, where they're talking shit to each other and talking about their beef and their social media beef and all of this. And we had heard from various sources that apparently word is that these guys still do not get along. They had a falling out. They have not repaired their relationship, but yet they're working a program together. And that just makes me wonder. I'm skeptical. I'm not questioning the validity of the sources or anything like that. You know, if Sean hears that they're not on the same page, I believe him. But if you're Tony Khan and you've already had one of the most tumultuous years that any wrestling backstage environment has ever had, you've had major issues. You've had issues with Andrade and Sammy. You've had issues with Eddie Kingston. You've had suspensions. You've had brawl out. You've had tons of shots being taken on the microphone, on social media. You've got a locker room divided. CM Punk then comes back. You have to separate your locker room to keep everybody happy. And then it all blows up in your fucking face when you have a brawl backstage at Gorilla on your biggest show ever that causes you to fire your biggest star. So, knowing all of that information and everything that Tony Khan and his company have gone through in the last year behind the scenes, why the fuck would you want to put two guys out there working a program together who hate each other? Have you not learned your lesson? Now, under normal circumstances, if we hear that two people who are working a program together don't like each other, that's not that weird. Because had AEW not had the history of the backstage crap that has dramatically affected the future of AEW, you know, they expected to have CM Punk here. They expected to have a lot of things that kind of got screwed up because of all of the backstage drama that went on. Why the hell would you want to tempt fate? You finally you've removed the tumor. Punk is gone. Everybody's trying to get back to normal here. Everybody's trying to improve the attitude, the demeanor, the mentality, the morale backstage. Do you really want to test this? Do you want to trust these two guys to go out there and work a program and not have anything boil over to where there's a backstage fight with these two, or you got to suspend them for conduct or whatever? because if they're going to work a match in the ring and one of them potatoes the other, then they're shooting on each other or something, or they're arguing backstage or whatever. Now you find yourself in another position of having to suspend or fire talent. What's going on there? So maybe Santana and Ortiz told Tony Khan, you can trust us. We will be professional. Good. I hope you are. But I think it's really sad that these two guys aren't getting along, that they're not on the same page if they're about to work a program here. I'm kind of skeptical that things are actually okay. And I think that's the optimist in me, just hoping for the best, hoping that it doesn't feel like you would be able to work a program like this with somebody whose guts you hate. You are going to have to come to some sort of an understanding, some sort of an agreement, because even Brett and Sean, agreed to work together, even though there was still a ton of hard feelings, but that shined through on TV. It can affect your storyline. One guy doesn't want to make the other one look too good. If you got a program between two guys who really like each other, they want to help the other out. Let's make this a career defining program for the both of us. But can you be on that same page? Can you have that mentality with somebody that you really just do not like? And like I said, if this was WWE or if this was some other situation, or AEW hasn't had the backstage issues that they've had, I wouldn't think anything of this story. I'd say, oh, that's a shame. Santana and Ortiz don't get along, but they still got a job to do. They're being paid a lot of money to go out there and be professionals. That's what they need to do. Normally, I wouldn't give it any more of a thought than that. But since we know what we've seen in AEW already in the backstage environment, this makes me nervous. And it makes me wonder if their beef is really real. Maybe they're trying to pull off one of the best work shoots ever. I don't know. Maybe they were at odds. They got back together, buried the hatchet, made amends with each other, but agreed to keep the story going on social media and on TV. And Tony Khan's going along with it too, because we did hear, the reports came out that they weren't getting along. Well, who put out those reports? Who said that? Maybe it's just what they want people to hear. Maybe it's what they're feeding to the sheets. I don't know. To me, that's the best case scenario. I hope they're lying about it, because if they're not, and this is true, and they hate each other, and they're going to have to work a program together, I don't know how good that program could be. Back in the day, Vince McMahon loved it when you had that competitive, that competitive nature behind the scenes. He liked it if two people feuding didn't get along, because Vince whacked off to shit like that because he's weird. But he also had a much better machine there to control situations. I don't know if Tony Khan has that control. So he's not like Vince. So if I'm Tony Khan, I would not want my talent to not like each other, because you've seen what's happened when it's happened before. So I don't know. The whole thing makes me really weirded out, but I really like both men. I like Santana. I like Ortiz. If they really do hate each other and they do not have a personal relationship anymore, that's unbelievably sad and unfortunate. And I'm surprised that they're able to take these bad feelings and put it out on TV. Greg is skeptical. That's all I'm going to say. Let's talk about the Acclaimed defeating the Dark Order last night on Rampage as well. Two trios champions on the show. I'm not sure if the Acclaim match was a title match. Was it against the Dark Order? Either way, you've got two different sets of trios champions on the same, is Rampage an hour? Or maybe it was 2 hours last night. I forgot. But that's a lot, man. That's a lot. I think it was just a 1 hour show, actually. I'm not sure. I just watched the YouTube clips. But man, I love the Acclaimed. I love the Dark Order. But I'm not sure if I'm putting them on the same show that the Bucks and Hangman also won trios titles, because these are situations where I agree with the fans who say there are too many belts. Sometimes I think fans just say it to say it. They don't really care one way or the other. It's a criticism. Let me jump on that. I don't really mind all the belts because I follow wrestling and I know what's going on. These are Ring of Honor belts and they're just on TV right now. It's a lot of belts, and sometimes it devalues the, championships if you have a lot of belts, but world's going to keep going. Wrestling's going to be fine. It's not the end of the world. But I do think it's a little bit ludicrous when you have two sets of trios championships on the same show. That's weird. You should have put the Acclaimed and Dark Order tonight on Collision and separated them from what the Bucks and Hangman did last night. But that's just Greg the Booker. That's not Tony Khan, the 80-hour-a-week Booker, who I think needs some help. Love you, Tony, but you need some fucking help, man. Sammy Guevara came out to explain himself after his WrestleMania 19 dick kick to Chris Jericho at Grand Slam on Wednesday. He officially joins the Don Callis family. Callis introduces Sammy. Sammy comes out. Takeshita's in the ring. And Sammy says that he has a new family and he never wants to see Jericho again, which immediately prompts Judas to play. Jericho comes out, charges the ring. He ends up getting overwhelmed and beaten up with a chair until Kenny Omega came down and made the save. And tonight on Collision, they set up a big 6-man for Wrestle Dream that we'll talk about in a minute. Now, Sammy Guevara, when he was cutting his promo, I noticed something. I noticed that as soon as he started talking, the fans were booing him loudly. And it wasn't super loud like what Don Callis was hearing a few months ago or what Dominic is hearing right now in WWE, but I feel like it has that potential. Sammy Guevara, I like the kid. I met him on the Jericho Cruise. He's on my list of nicest wrestlers I've ever met, and I've met a shitload of wrestlers. He was a super nice guy, so I will always have, a soft spot in my heart for Sammy. But he is very much not liked by the majority of the wrestling audience. It pissed him off even more when, he got with Ty Mello because they were all in love with her and he's got her and it makes him jealous. So they're even madder. Now he's got more heat. Fans hate him. They hate everything about him. And then he tried to be a babyface. And I remember thinking that was weird too, because this guy is a natural heel. He should be going after Tony Khan and AEW should try to get Sammy the Dominic Mysterio heat. He's halfway there. Just with his face. His face is so punchable. And that's what you want in a guy like that. I want to see Sammy get the type of heat to where as soon as he touches the microphone, the fans are flinging poo in the ring. Like, I think he's got a chance to do that. Now he's with Callis, another heat magnet. And I think if you do the right things with Sammy, if he says the right things and does the right things, you can really, really make him a heel. It's too bad that Ty is pregnant and she's not here right now, because if you brought her out there as his Rhea Ripley or just have her dress super hot and now he's just making out with her and sticking his tongue down her throat and all of that, fans just barf at that and just give him all the heat in the world. I feel like he could get there. They just got to figure out what they can do to really put him over that edge. I'm not even sure what Dominic did. I don't know if it was one thing that led to that, but I think it was just mostly the evolution of his character through the feud with his dad, through WrestleMania, the big paddy wagon entrance and all of that. Dominic just kept building and building. And I think Sammy Guevara should try to do something similar. I think it's in Sammy's best interest and AEW's to get this guy as much heat as humanly possible. I mean, get these fans 1 inch away from rioting, like that bad. That's what I want to see, because that would be so fun. If the crowd is just losing their shit every time Sammy is out there. It's the heel that he was born to be. And I hope that he's able to find that level of heat, hopefully. So I feel like he's already got a head start. He's unimaginably unlikable. Nobody likes him, and he's a very easy guy to dislike. So run with it. Not only make him unlikable and not make the fans dislike him, make the fans hate him. I mean, hate him. He's just got to find the right thing to do to get that level of heat. And I'm not really sure if I have the answer to that. I just think that that's what they should try to do if I'm AEW and Mr. Khan. Vincent and Dutch won a triple threat number 1 contenders match as well, defeating the Hardys and Best Friends. They will face the Ring of Honor. They will face, who the fuck are they facing? They're going to face MJF. There's so many tag team champions. We had 2 tag team titles and 2 trios titles in this company. And here I am bitching about the Judgment Day holding on all those titles. Vincent and Dutch are the new number 1 contenders to Adam Cole and MJF's championship, and they will get a match with them at Wrestle Dream. So there's going to be 2 sets of tag team titles defended at Wrestle Dream. Let's talk about tonight's AEW Collision. We haven't even talked about that yet because we had a title change on this show. Let me double check the chat before we move on here, making sure we're all good. Update it. Put it closer to me so I can read it. If you don't mind, anybody who's in the chat right now and you have not hit the thumbs up button, could you do that for me? I would really appreciate it. And please subscribe if you are not yet a subscriber. We are going to be hitting 40,000 subscribers pretty soon, probably within the next month or so. So please hook us up with the subscription and the like. Greg would be eternally grateful. So tonight on AEW Collision, we opened up with the TNT Championship triple threat match. Luchasaurus defending against Darby Allin and Christian. So last night when I saw this match was booked, I was like, Christian's going to win. I think they're going to make Christian the TNT champion since he kind of already is already. And that was why I didn't feel like Darby was going to win it here. It felt like Christian was probably going to be the guy, and I was right. Now, this is a really funny match because it's an interesting dynamic. Luchasaurus is the champion. He's defending against Darby Allin, but also his friend, his mentor, Christian, who's using him, treating him like shit, monopolizing his belt, holding his belt, carrying his belt, calling himself the champion. And granted, it was going to be a 2-on-1 match for Darby, but you knew Christian was going to try some shit, and he did. It was funny early on. Christian tries to pin Darby. Like, they both beat Darby down, and Christian sends Luchasaurus out of the ring to, like, go get a chair. And when Lucha is leaving, Christian jumps on Darby and tries to pin him. That was hilarious. But all in all, it still pretty much was basically a handicap match. Now, later on in the match, the championship belt finds its way into the ring, and Luchasaurus picks it up. And apparently this is the first time he has ever touched his championship. I thought he touched it after he won it, and I thought he has touched it, but apparently he hasn't touched it at all. You know, ever since he won it, he was never able to hold it, never able to put it on his shoulder, never able to wear it. Christian has been hogging it the whole time, just like they're 5-year-olds, and he's hogging the best toy. And Lucha has it in his hand, and he's looking at it. And then Christian comes in the ring, he's like, give it to me. And Lucha submits it. He gives it to Christian. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you, Luchasaurus? You are young and big. Christian is small and old. Fuck him up. But no, he gives him the belt back. The finish, typical triple threat finish, one we've seen many, many times before. Somebody hits their finisher. The other guy comes in, tosses him out, jumps on the pin for the win. And that's what Christian did. We get a coffin drop to Luchasaurus. Christian, waiting in the wings on the outside of the ring, slithers in like the snake that he is, grabs Darby, dumps him outside the ring, jumps on his buddy Luchasaurus and pins him to become the new champion. You would think that this would piss Luchasaurus off. You would think that this heel, this monster, would finally snap and annihilate Christian, but he doesn't. He hugs Christian, and he's hugging him. I'm like, okay, after the hug, he's going to nail him. Nope, doesn't nail him after he hugs him. Then Christian climbs to the top rope, and then Luchasaurus goes from underneath him to lift him up on his shoulders. And I thought for sure they were going to do the old thing, and he was just going to drop Christian back. Nope, he doesn't. He puts Christian down. They leave together, and Luchasaurus looks sad. He looks legitimately sad. Remember when Kane would sometimes get his heart broken? Like, that's kind of what he looked like. So you can tell that we are going to have a moment where Luchasaurus finally snaps. But I don't know if it's going to be, I don't know if they're going to actually have Luchasaurus beat Christian for the title. It might wind up being Darby Allin, because a little bit later on, Christian and Luchasaurus did a backstage interview with Tony Schiavone where Christian is celebrating his title win. Lucha is pretending, I guess, to be happy for him, even though you can tell he's pissed about it. And Tony Schiavone announces that Tony Khan has made the ruling that Christian will defend his newly won TNT title against Darby Allin at Wrestle Dream in a 2 out of 3 falls match. So Christian just winning the title, I'm not sure if he's going to drop it this quick, but since he's been holding and wearing and carrying the title, I kind of view him as being the champion this whole time. So maybe this could be it for Darby Allin to finally beat Christian and then win the TNT title for the 3rd or 4th time or whatever it is. Or maybe Luchasaurus plays a role in the finish. I mean, if he helps Christian again beat Darby Allin, then what I think you need to do is have Luchasaurus then face Christian and beat him for the championship. That way he can finally hold the belt that he held before but was never able to physically hold. So I'm kind of hoping, even though I would love to see Darby win the TNT title again, we've been there, done that. I think if you had some sort of a finish where Luchasaurus helps Christian win and then attacks Christian after the match, setting up a championship match the next week on TV or something where Luchasaurus beats him and wins the title for himself, I'd be fine with that story. If Darby wins the title, I guess I'd be fine with that story too. How about RVD teaming up with Hook to defeat 2.0? That's crazy. That's just a wild match to me. RVD with Taz's son all the history RVD and Taz had, dating all the way back to the ECW days. RVD has known Taz since before Hook was even fucking born, man. So that was just all kinds of awesome. 2.0 was out there with Jake Hager and Anna Jay, who is just, she has a hotness level that makes you mad. You know what I'm talking about? It's like you just like, God damn, she's so hot, it pisses you off. So she was out there too. Hopefully Jungle Boy is doing okay. Say hi to Jack for us, Anna. We had a pretty good finish there. Double kind of finish with the red rum on Parker, and RVD came off with a pretty good looking 5-star to Bernard. I swear, RVD, Rob Van Dam, more like Rob Van Dam, you're old, but he still can go. The dude can still hit a 5-star like no other. He looks definitely like he's 60 years old, but he performs like he's 30. And it's just crazy to see RVD still in there, still doing it. And did I see him? Was he in the Collision intro? I thought I saw him in there. I was kind of half watching the screen, half not during the Elton John song, but I thought I saw RVD there. So, maybe he signed a short-term deal with the company to be on Collision every Saturday. I like that. After that, we had a Kingdom interview backstage. Bennett and Taven were back there, and they challenged the best friends next week, all in the support of neck health. Of course, it's all about neck health. What's it called? Neck Health Month or whatever. We have to all acknowledge the health of our own necks as well as Roderick Strong's. Kingdom, pretty pissed off. They're going to be challenging best friends next week. Julia Hart then had a match against Kiera Hogan. Julia Hart has got one of the best entrances in the business. I love Julia Hart. She taps out Kiera Hogan, continues to attack her after the match until Sky Blue comes down to the ring. She gets misted in the face. Nigel on commentary, or it might have been Kevin Kelly, I can't remember who, did mention that earlier on in the day, they didn't show any footage of this, unless it was on social media and I missed it. But apparently Julia Hart misted Willow Nightingale earlier on in the day, and that's why she wasn't out at ringside for this match. So after Julia Hart wins, Brody gets on the microphone, Brody King, and challenges. It sounded like he was challenging Chris Statlander for the TBS title. I'm like, this is a mismatch. But he was basically challenging on behalf of Julia Hart. And Julia Hart's going to be getting a TBS title shot against Statlander at Wrestle Dream. I can't help but think that this is just going to be a successful title defense for Statlander, because even though I think Julia Hart is improving, she's got a good character going here that's developing. She's got a great entrance, great presentation. I would continue to build her. I wouldn't be belting her yet. So it makes me think that they just wanted Statlander to have a match that she could win and retain and give Julia Hart a match on pay-per-view for a championship. These are all experience points for someone like her. Julia, how old is she? 22 or something? So this is all good experience for her. Maybe that's the point, because I saw some people complaining, why isn't it Athena or why isn't it this person? I'm like, man, I don't know. Tony Khan books the women's division like shit. He doesn't give it enough time. I don't know if the women are ever really going to be able to shine in the current AEW form as we know it, but nothing we can do about that except for, call for them to do better. But in terms of the Julia Hart match against Statlander, it doesn't really bother me. I'm okay with this one. Because I feel like it's going to be good for Julia Hart. She's probably going to lose. I would not beat Statlander right after she beat Jade Cargill clean. I wouldn't do that. So I would have Statlander continue to roll, beat Julia Hart, have Julia Hart give it a really good effort here. Maybe some House of Black getting involved, maybe some, best friends getting involved on behalf of Statlander, leading to an intergender trios match on Dynamite or some shit like that. And maybe it's a program between Julia and Statlander, and Julia gets the belt in the end. But I don't think she'll be getting it at Wrestle Dream. I feel like Statlander needs to retain there. We had a Vincent and Dutch vignette. I really like them. I've only seen them a little bit, but now they're featured a lot on AEW TV, getting to know them a little bit. They're Wyatt family vibes for a while there. Vincent was rumored to be Uncle Howdy, if we remember that. So good to see them in AEW, and they're a trip. So they're going to have a big match at Wrestle Dream as well. Speaking of big matches, this one was great. My God, guys, professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is awesome. And there's no better example of that than watching Andrade versus Jay White on Collision tonight. Amazing match. Loved it. So hard hitting. Like everything Andrade does looks like it hurts. I would not want to be in the ring with him, and I certainly wouldn't want to be in the ring with him if I had heat with him, because he would fuck me up. He's just a beast, man. That guy is main eventer written all over him. It's a bummer that he hasn't really achieved that yet. This could have been a world title match in any promotion, Andrade against Jay White. I loved it. All kinds of fun. Blade Runner for the win on Andrade after all sorts of Bullet Club Gold interference. After the match, Juice Robinson crawls on all fours and he like lifts his leg like a dog to pretend to pee on Andrade. And I'm like, I hope you cleared that with Andrade backstage, because if not, he's gonna fuck you up, Juice. But I'm loving Bullet Club Gold. We're gonna have to admit this all together. We might as well all hold hands together and do this. The Guns are awesome. The Ass Boys are great. They are all kinds of entertaining. I cannot believe how much they've really come out of their shell. I mean, they always kind of were wild, but they've really kind of like just matured. I just love the alliance. I wasn't sure about all those guys together at first. You know, Juice and you know, Jay was the only one that really stood out. Juice has always been okay to me. And the Ass Boys I've always given shit to. But now that they're all together and they're, you know, kind of running with this thing, Juice has opened my eyes in the last few months to really appreciate his work. And the Ass Boys have done the same thing. So I got to admit, I was wrong about the Ass Boys. They are great, and they have unlimited potential in the future. Wouldn't even be surprised if those Ass Boys wind up back in WWE one day. We will have to see. We had an Ortiz vignette after that, kind of talking about Santana. We mentioned those two earlier on. We then had a Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty promo. Shane talks his history with Keith Lee in Ring of Honor. And he says that Lee is going to have to face Lee Moriarty. So I guess we got Lee versus Lee next week before Shane Taylor inevitably takes on Keith Lee. FTR defeated the Workhorsemen in a great tag team match. This was fun. Aussie Open was at ringside for this. They're going to be getting a shot at the AEW tag team titles at Wrestle Dream. They came in the ring. Both teams cut promos on each other for their Wrestle Dream match. So that one I'm looking forward to. Then we cut backstage to the hot and flexible CJ. She is doing an interview, and she says that her husband has lost his way or whatever, and he shows up and talks about temptation. Really kind of weird exchange between the two. It is kind of cool seeing Lana and Rusev in AEW, but it sounds like they are not going to be aligned with each other at first, and they might even be teasing some sort of an alliance between CJ and Hobbs. So they were into doing that in WWE too. You know, Lana was with Ziggler. She like left Miro for Ziggler. Then she left Miro for Lashley. She's had other dudes. Now she's found herself some powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs, have fun with that, brother. Have fun. Lucky man. After that was our tremendous main event. Texas Death Match between Ricky Starks and Bryan Danielson. This thing was brutal. I kind of thought Starks might get the win here, but, you know, Danielson's got a big match with Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dream as well. So I wasn't sure if either guy should really take a loss here. Plus, they just had the strap match at All Out. But these guys beat the hell out of each other, brawling early through the crowd. Danielson was busted open very early. Starks busts out a chain, starts choking Danielson with it. He survives. We had a sweet spear countered into a label lock spot that I loved. No tap outs in this match, so it's just not answering the 10 count. So Danielson was just trying to label lock Starks into unconsciousness. The finish was pretty good. These guys were trading blows with each other. Finally, Danielson knocks down Starks. He grabs the chain and wraps the chain around his knee, and he goes to hit Starks with the knee. He does, and Starks is able to actually fight out of it. These guys just start trading blows, stiff right hand. Starks is now cut open over his eye, and that's when Danielson grabs his arms and he starts doing the stomp thing. And Ricky, from below, getting stomped with blood all over his face, just spits right up in Danielson's face. And that's when Danielson grabs the chain and wraps. I got that wrong. He wrapped the chain around his neck first, not his knee. So earlier when I said he wrapped the chain around his neck, he didn't. He wrapped it around Stark's neck and started pulling back, basically doing the same spot that they did in the strap match. and just choking him. And Starks went out like that. He didn't go out here. He was able to survive and reverse out of that and fight back until Danielson got him down again. Then he wrapped the chain around his knee, hit him with the running knee, blast Starks right in the face, and that was the end of him. He then got choked out. Aubrey called for the bell, and that was it. That's what happened, right? He just didn't get up from that, and then Aubrey called for the bell. Anyway, Danielson won the Texas Death Match, 2 victories in a row now, pay-per-view and Collision over Ricky Starks. I don't know if this is good or bad. I like Danielson probably a little bit more than Ricky Starks, but I also know the potential of Ricky Starks, the youth that he has, and the fact that he could be a big star. I think at some point he needs to win a big match here, and now that's 2 in a row that he's dropped to Danielson. We will see if they do a third one with maybe standard rules where he can actually maybe get a pin victory over Danielson. We will have to wait and see. But either way, really good main event of Collision tonight and really good Collision episode. This was great. Collision, you know, in my mind, in terms of me enjoying the show, the level of which I've enjoyed the show, I have not noticed too much about CM Punk being gone. It would be great to have CM Punk there, don't get me wrong, but the show is still good. They have a lot of talent there, and I don't think one piece of talent should ever make or break any company, to be honest. So I'm happy to see that Collision is still going strong. It has a little bit of a different vibe than Dynamite, which I like because they open up the show with those Saturday night's main event style pre-match promos, which I love before the show starts. So I like the overall vibe and spirit of the show a lot. And I thought tonight's show was really, really fun. Pretty badass card, I have to say, for Collision tonight. Wrestle Dream. Here's what we got for Wrestle Dream. We have Hangman Page taking on Swerve Strickland. We have Eddie Kingston defending both of his titles against Katsuyori Shibata, so that's going to be really interesting. Statlander will likely defend her TBS title against Julia Hart. She'll probably accept that challenge maybe on Dynamite on Wednesday. We have the big 6-man match, Kenny Omega. I don't know if I talked about that earlier. Did I talk about their backstage deal? I think I did. So backstage earlier on, or was it on Rampage? Where the hell was that? I'm reading my own notes here. Oh no, it was on Collision tonight. I've just lost where I put this in my notes, unless I already talked about it and I've already forgotten. Anyway, yeah, I've lost it. I don't know where it went. But anyway, backstage, Don Callis challenges, I guess, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho and Ibushi, or maybe the 3 of them challenged Don Callis. I can't remember which way it went. But basically, they set up the match for Wrestle Dream. It's going to be Jericho and Omega and Kota Ibushi against Takeshita, Sammy Guevara, and Will Ospreay. So I like that. Will Ospreay and Kenny are probably headed for one more match at Wrestle Kingdom in January. And they had some barn burners this year. Of course, Ospreay beat Kenny at Forbidden Door. Then he beat Jericho at All In. And Jericho and Sammy are doing their thing. This should be a really fun 6-man match. I'm ready for that. We have the Righteous. We've got Dutch and Vincent challenging MJF and Adam Cole for the Ring of Honor tag team titles, and we have the AEW tag team titles also on the line, FTR defending against Aussie Open. And then we also have Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. That's all I've written down. I was writing down the matches as I was watching Collision tonight, but am I missing anything for Wrestle Dream? Because it's this Sunday, or it's 1 week from tomorrow, and 2, 3, 4, wait, how many? 7 matches is all I have down here. I think I'm missing 1 or 2 more. And they might set one up to this week on Dynamite. So Hangman Swerve, Eddie and Shibata, Statlander, Julia, Kenny Jericho and Ibushi versus the Callis family, Cole and MJF versus Righteous, Aussie Open versus FTR, and Danielson against Zack Sabre Jr. What am I missing there? Got to be missing something. Oh no, I'm missing Darby and Christian, right? Yeah, Darby and Christian, 2 out of 3 falls, so I'm missing that one. So that'll put us up to 8 matches. So yeah, maybe just 1 or 2 more, I think, is all we are missing there. Yeah, thanks, Barry. I will do that. I will put getting lost in my notes. Well, you got to see these things, man. They're huge. Like I had a lot of, I got 4 pages of notes here, and then I scroll up and I kind of lost my place. But it's something I must have just forgotten to put in there. But it happens. It happens when you're live, you know. Can't do second takes when you're live. USA thinks they will get Roman Reigns, but he will wind up going to NBC. Well, that's okay. That's the same umbrella. That's not going to be going to a competing rival because NBC Universal owns both. But one of the details in the deal with SmackDown moving to USA is there is going to be 4 NBC primetime specials throughout the course of the year. So it would be weird to put Raw on NBC. I just couldn't imagine Raw on NBC on Monday nights. I just couldn't imagine it. But that would be a pretty crazy place to land if they did go there. But I am a little worried about the future of Monday Night Raw. I ain't going to lie. Oh, Jake Hager said he was supposed to go back to WWE and main event with Roman Reigns. Okay. Yeah, I believe that when I'll see it. Reading through some of these comments here. Just bear with me as I see if you guys have anything to say about this. Okay, Max has got some info on those tag team titles. Classic tag team titles became the Raw tags in 2002. Okay, WWE created the SmackDown tags with Angle and Benoit being the first champs. 2002, Raw tags got dissolved. That's what I was getting confused about. So the Classic became the Raw tags, but then the Raw tags got dissolved, which means that title history is over. So then where'd the other fucking belts come from? I don't know what's going on here. And then, then they had SmackDown titles created in 2016 when the Universal title came in. And that's why I really have an issue with like title lineages, because I really wish you could trace the tag team titles all the way back to the beginning. But I feel like those titles don't exist anymore. I'll have to check and see what the internet says about these title histories and where they're broken up and whatnot. But it's a mess. It's a mess. Yeah, thanks, Barry. Raw tags from the early 2000s has the history going back to the 70s. So yeah, that means that they are no longer in existence. And when Balor and Priest are not holding the same titles that Demolition did, and that makes me mad. Austin Tucker going to Fastlane. That's cool. Where is Fastlane, by the way? I don't even know where it is. It's coming up in 2 weeks. What do we have? Help me out with the matches. I didn't write anything down. So we're probably going to have LA Knight and Cena against Solo and Jimmy. What else is happening? What else is happening? I literally don't know any other matches for Fastlane. I don't even think Cody's wrestling anybody, is he? I don't think he's booked. Reading some more. Ask me questions before we get out of here if you have any. I just want to see if anybody's got anything to say. Yeah, Juliet. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I just kind of trust my gut, and I just think with all of the problems that AEW has had, to allow two guys who hate each other to work a program together is very dangerous based on the history that the company has seen in the last year. They haven't announced anything yet. 2 weeks away. We don't have any matches for Fastlane. Okay. Indianapolis, Indiana. Thank you for that, Austin. Have fun, man. So where's that going to be? Where the Pacers play? Right on. Oh, yeah, Seth and Nakamura at Fastlane. Okay, thank you. And we can probably think about what they're doing. Just look at the angles on TV. We can probably build a card here, right? You got the tags. I'm sorry, Seth and Nakamura and Priest and Balor will probably defend, right? Maybe against Owens and Sammy, and Jay comes in and fucks that up or something. I don't know if Gunther's going to have a defense or not. If he is, I don't think it's going to be against Chad Gable because he lost clean on Monday night. Gunther and Ciampa. Yeah, okay, Gunther and Ciampa, that could be one. Who's on the SmackDown side? What about the women? Charlotte and Bayley, perhaps? Or what does Io Sky do? Does she defend her belt? Does Rhea Ripley defend against Raquel again? I don't know. Victor, do I think this is the last of the releases for the time being? I hope so. I think that it is, because if I'm in WWE's shoes, I'm just trying to get it all done. You know, WWE, it would be stupid for them to release 20 people and then wait a week, release 20 more. You're better off just releasing 40 in the same day. You know what I mean? So make your decisions of who you want to cut and fucking cut them, and stop stringing people along so the talent and the staff doesn't have to walk around on eggshells all week worrying about their phone ringing. So I think that the releases probably are complete as of now. At least I hope they are. Yeah, Io and Asuka rematch could happen as well. Maybe that's where we see Kyrie Sane turn up. Anthony Alston, am I shocked at the longevity of Impact? Yeah. Wrestling's cockroaches, man. That company will not die. And I got to say, I earned a lot of respect for them based on how they have been hanging on by a thread a couple of times there and still managed to stay alive. And then even when AEW came around, I remember talking on the podcast about how fucked Impact is. I'm like, man, if they already weren't in the mud as it was, now they got another wrestling company started that's going to take up and sign a lot of talent. They're going to swallow up a lot of the best wrestlers out there, not leaving you with much, but they still are producing TV and still have a fan base. And that's awesome. That's awesome. Good for Impact. Never say die. Oh, yeah, Nia Jackson. I forgot about Nia Jax, who's back. Yeah, that's right. She bonsai dropped Ripley to shit. So we might get Nia Jax and Rhea Ripley. Ripley better beat her, man. I mean, hopefully Nia Jax is just put in front of Ripley to make Ripley look even more badass. Let's hope that that's all that was. Nia Jax coming back, attacking Ripley, not to win the title, but to get beaten by Ripley. Because there's no reason for Nia Jax to come back into the company right now and win the title. There is no need for that at all. So if Nia and Rhea happen at Fastlane, I think I hope it's a clean win for Rhea because fuck Nia. Oh, thank you, Guardians of Chaos. Excellent show, Greg. I usually don't comment much. Been listening since minute 1. It's after midnight here. Catch you next time. Right on. I should probably be getting out of here. It is 12:15, or if you were on the East Coast. I still have to eat some dinner and get some stuff done. But we are going to be back. We're going to be back tomorrow night. WWF Breakdown 1998. We're going to be doing a watch along of that. So tomorrow night, we'll have Breakdown on. We'll have the Sunday night football game. I'll have a nice frosty beverage open. We'll hang out. We'll talk. We'll chat. It'll be fun. Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 40. I agree. That feels like what they're building towards. Becky has been doing her Becky tour, her Bex tour, her tour of Bex, whatever the fuck she's calling it. I think she's going to be on SmackDown next week, I think. And she's been in NXT, current NXT champion. She's got a rematch with Stratton at the thing. So we'll see how long Becky's little NXT tour lasts. But she's taking it on the road. I mean, we've seen that both AEW and WWE are both doing the same thing. Have you noticed that? They're both integrating a lot of their main roster talent into their developmental area. You know, you got Becky and Dominic, current NXT title holders on the main roster. Same thing AEW is doing with a lot of their main roster talent winning Ring of Honor titles right now. So maybe it's an experimental phase for both companies. See what the ratings do. NXT has been doing pretty good numbers, sticking some of the talent in there like Becky and whatnot. So hopefully Ring of Honor can get a TV deal and we can figure out exactly what AEW has up their sleeve for Ring of Honor with all of their main talent winning their belts. We'll have to see. Right on, Austin Tuck. Well, that's great. See, I love it when somebody can see their favorite wrestler wrestle. That's awesome. So if Cena is your favorite of all time, you get to see him wrestle in person. That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I never got to see Brett wrestle when he was like on top in person. It was way before that. So you're lucky. I hope you have a great time, man. NXT bring indie talent, like independent talent. Where is Indy Hartwell? That's who I want. Whenever. All right, we got a police coming after me. You'll never catch me. You'll never find me. All right, drive by, hurry up. Or maybe it's a fire. I'm not going to call him Dad. Even if there's a fire. What movie is that from? Are you going to pass me or what? All right, here it comes. Sorry, my windows are open, so. Excuse me. All right, right on. Oh, maybe Indy is still injured. That's possible too. But I really like her, man. Did I see the Maven and Stevie Richards stuff? Yes, I know Maven and Stevie Richards both have pretty successful YouTube channels right now. And I'll talk about Stevie Richards because Maven has got a good one. Stevie's I like, but his most recent video where he was critiquing the Moxley injury, AEW apparently took it down or copyright blocked it or whatever, which is not a big deal because WWE blocks everything. You know, content ID is content ID. Nobody does it worse than the other. If anybody's really bad about it, I think it's New Japan. But apparently he got that video taken down and blocked for content ID. But the reason he probably got it taken down is, number one, he keeps showing a replay of a very, very devastating move that caused a man to get a concussion. But also, I didn't appreciate, and a lot of people were doing this on social media. There's a big fire somewhere. Maybe Walmart's on fire. But you can call Tony Khan a lot of things. Tony Khan is not perfect. We have given Tony Khan shit for leadership skills, for being weird, for overbooking stuff, for not being organized, for shelving guys, killing momentum. There's plenty of things that Tony Khan has done as a booker or a company owner that hasn't been Greg's favorite. But one thing that Tony Khan is not is a heartless son of a bitch. This dude cries and hugs every piece of talent that he signs. He is endlessly devoted to their happiness. He has been very, very good to Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley approached Tony Khan, a year or so ago and said, I need help. I want to go to rehab. And no questions asked. Tony granted him as much time as he wanted. Tony Khan is there for his wrestlers. For all of his faults and all of the problems that he has, and he does have some, he is not unsympathetic to any issue talent has. And at the end of that Stevie Richards video, he gets all pissed. How many more fire trucks are going to go by me? He gets all pissed off because at the end of the show, off camera, Daniel Garcia got Tony Khan to come out and do the little dance. And Stevie took offense to this, as did a lot of fans unjustly, took offense to this, like Tony Khan doesn't care about Jon Moxley. You got a guy that just got concussed and you're out there dancing. No, that's not what happened. That injury took place in the first fucking match. Jon Moxley is not paralyzed. His neck is not broken. He's not at the hospital. He's fine. He walked off on his own power. There was a photo of Tony Khan and Claudio and Renee all at his trailer. Tony Khan definitely checked on him, definitely cared about him, but also had duties to fulfill as the guy at Gorilla or whatever. And people are pointing out when so-and-so was hurt, Vince rode to the hospital with him. I'm like, well, he didn't go to the hospital. So what do you want fucking Tony Khan to do? Adam Cole apparently did go to the hospital, but that's for his foot. That's not life or career threatening. Concussions can be, neck stuff can be, head injuries can be. And Tony Khan was there checking on him. What else did you want him to do? Sit in the back and cry? He still has a job to do. Don't forget, Owen Hart fell 100 feet to his death in the middle of the fucking ring and they didn't cancel a pay-per-view. And you're going to get a stick up your ass because Tony Khan did the Daniel Garcia dance? And you're somehow attributing that to him not caring about the health and safety of Jon Moxley, not caring about his wrestlers? That's the assumption you make because he did the Garcia dance? That's an unbelievably delusional amount of unjustifiable hate because Tony Khan may have issues, but that is not one of them. He is not a guy that doesn't care about his talent. Stevie Richards was making it sound like Tony Khan was so happy that Jon Moxley got injured that he danced about it. Same thing with the bad faith haters all over social media. Same thing. Tony Khan's a piece of shit. No, he's not. These are the assumptions and the shit that you concoct in your tribal brain. Just be smart about it. You want to criticize Tony Khan for real things? Do it. But don't make shit up. And that was completely unjustified by Stevie Richards. It pissed me off. If I was Moxley, I'd be mad. If I was Moxley, I would call Stevie Richards and say, hey, asshole, just so you know, Tony Khan is the best boss I've ever had. So fuck you. Maybe next time don't assume something that's not true. And Stevie Richards, I respect. Stevie Richards is a wrestling veteran, very smart man, very smart wrestling mind. But that comment told me that he harbors resentment towards AEW for whatever reason. Because nobody who knew the facts and knew the story would say that, unless you're a bad faith hater. So now I want to go to Stevie Richards' social media and see if he's got a timeline full of toxic shit. Because I don't know why he would go out of his way to make that critique about something that he doesn't know anything about. If he can critique the bump, what went wrong, what Phoenix should have done differently, what Moxley should have done differently, what the referee should have done differently. All that's fine because that's something that that's some expertise that Stevie can offer because he knows about that stuff. What he doesn't know about is the relationship between Tony Khan and Jon Moxley, what Tony Khan did after the Moxley injury. He acted like Tony Khan just sat right there, gorilla with his headset on, as they're rolling a paralyzed Jon Moxley past him. And Tony Khan just like, fuck you, John. That's the way they're making it sound. And that's why tribalism sucks, because it makes you believe shit that's not true. It makes you concoct false assumptions in your mind that's not true, that you have no proof of, you have no evidence of. You're deciding this in your head alone and then putting it out there for the world to see for a bunch of brain dead morons to agree with you on. And that is irresponsible. It's fucked up. And I'm glad AEW pulled that content down because it was in bad faith. It was, and that's all I ask. I just ask, if people want to criticize Tony Khan, just be fair. But when you have to just start, he got all his money from his dad and he's a cokehead, you're an idiot. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You're mad, you're pissed, you're angry, and you're letting other people who are smarter than you dictate how you think. And that's what tribalism is all about. That's why you have unimaginative, uncreative chodes tagging Jim Cornette in every negative thing about AEW because they need to be told how they're supposed to feel about it. Hey, Jim, tell me how I'm supposed to feel about this. Here's some botch or here's some stupid shit that happened in a match. Rip it apart so I can whack off to it. That's what's out there. And it's so fucking pathetic. So when it comes to the Stevie Richards stuff, I don't have any sympathy for his video getting pulled down. I like his YouTube channel. I like most of the videos he's put up, just like Maven's. But when I saw that one, it kind of made me like, that sounds like you, for some reason, have an issue with Tony Khan, just like Eric Bischoff does. Motherfucker broke every rule in the book as a promoter of WCW, ran WCW in the ground. Nitro only lasted 6 years. AEW is 8 months, or Dynamite is 18 months away from outliving Nitro. And Eric Bischoff, for all the shit that he did wrong, the stupid decisions he made, the booking decisions that he made, the way he allowed his talent to run the asylum backstage, then he's going to criticize Tony Khan for the same thing? Fuck you. Because you were worse. So I just asked for consistency with these critiques, and I did not see consistency out of Stevie Richards' video. I saw a video rooted in bad faith hate, and I don't like that. So I don't really care that Stevie got the video taken down. But Stevie, I do like you. I like you a lot. And I like Maven too. And I'm really glad that Maven has found happiness and peace in his life. When he left WWE, he had some issues too. I think he got arrested for drug problems. I think he got addicted to pills and went through some dark years, and to see him kind of come back and talk about his run in WWE, because Maven's an interesting character. He was only there a few years, tough enough guy, never really made it to major heights in the company, but probably has a whole bunch of interesting stories, and his YouTube channel is doing well. I think he has 100,000 subscribers on. He's been around for less than a year, and he's almost tripled what we have here. We've been doing it for over a decade. It's not fair, but anyway. I do like Stevie. I do like Maven. I'm happy that both of them are finding success on YouTube. Just be a little bit smarter is all I ask out of Stevie. That's it. So, yeah. Anyway, I think I do have to get out of here. Let me see if you guys have anything else to say about it. Okay, yeah, I think we're good. I think we're all caught up. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it so much. It was a very fun Saturday night podcast. Haven't done one of these in a long time, where we were able to just kick back, take our time, relax, and talk wrestling. Like I said, we will be back tomorrow night for WWF Breakdown, so make sure you join us at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. We'll have the football game on as well, and we will watch Vince McMahon steal the Smoking Skull belt and flip off Austin to end the show. It's going to be fun. You guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday night, and thanks for being here, and I will catch you all tomorrow.